How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final genocide. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final
What's up, everyone? What's up? Hey, listen, you can't say anything about me not being on time because I told you guys I would get started with the stream once I was done with Owen. Okay? What'd you guys think of the Owen appearance? Now, the reception that I am gathering, I did have the chat on the screen, but I wasn't really watching it. The reception that I am gathering is that you guys thought I was awesome. And obviously you thought Owen was awesome because he objectively was. But you guys think Owen's chat sucks. You know, like I said, I wasn't like really watching the chat, but it's like it's on the screen, you can't help it. So you see some things that are coming by. And it's like I got to be honest, I was disappointed. I was disappointed in the low IQ retardation of Owen's chat. And I'm sure Owen has many smart people that watch him too. But the problem is, and why we gatekeep retards out of this community, the problem is when you mix retards and smart people, the retards tend to take over because the retards have no ability to filter themselves. They have no ability to understand when to shut the fuck up. They just yap and yap and yap and yap and yap. And the smart people are like, this really sucks. Why am I like the smart people probably aren't even looking at Owen's chat. They're just listening to him or watching him. So I'm not saying, obviously, I adore Owen Schroyer. I was really happy to be able to go on his show today. First of all, it was great fucking timing. Secondly, how awesome was that interview? I mean, one in the chat if you thought I did awesome. Two in the chat if you thought I sucked. One in the chat if I did awesome. Two in the chat if I sucked. I was so happy with the concentration camp conversation. I was so happy with it. If that was probably, if we're being honest about it, and remember YouTube, my work is a work of satire. Any resemblance to real events is purely coincidental. If I say something wrong or against terms of service, I'm fucking kidding. I actually think that it is a really novel and original solution to round up Antifa and put them in a concentrated camp-like area and build a wall around them and provide them with all the necessities. I'm not saying we would leave them in the walled off area to completely fend for themselves. I'm saying we would invest taxpayer dollars in providing them with all the fucking services that they want. Okay? They want free healthcare. They want free public schools and only public schools and no private school. They want a world without money. They want a world without the police. They want a world with free food. Fine. Fucking fine. Go have it. But we have to separate you out from society. In order to give you the communist utopia of your dreams, we have to separate you out from society. We have to. You will have your communist utopia, and we're going to make sure you're taken care of. And I'm not saying, again, I don't want people to die in the concentrated camp-like areas. I don't want people to die. I just think this makes sense. We have fundamentally different values than Antifa. We cannot live together. We cannot coexist. One of these sides is going to win and one of these sides is going to lose. And I've seen enough shit in my time undercover with these people and infiltrating all their online meetings. I have seen enough shit to know that if they win, it's going to be really bad and dystopian, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So, ergo, if you don't want that, then we all need to be serious about solving the problem, because that was what I loved. Like, I reached out to Owen Schroyer last night. I saw Owen post a clip about how conservatives don't take the problem of the left seriously, and I was like, oh my God. And I DM'd him immediately, and I was like, Owen, I will talk to you any day of the week about all of the ways in which the right does not take the left seriously. You let me know, bro. And he answered me back immediately, and he was like, come on tomorrow. And I was like, okay, you just tell me a time and I will be there. I will rearrange my schedule around you. And it's a good thing it was today too, because tomorrow I have to get on a plane to go to a super secret undercover location that I'm not going to tell you guys about until after I'm finished. And so I'm going to be basically gone from Thursday through Monday. I will be streaming. I just won't be doing it at the usual time, but I promise you I will be streaming while I'm away. That's not going away. It's just going to have to be at flexible times because reasons, okay? So it was actually perfect timing that he was like, let's do it today. Because if he had said tomorrow or Friday or Monday, I probably would have not been able to do it. And so I think that was a really important conversation to have. And I'm really glad that Owen allowed me to have it. And I really enjoyed his reaction to the concentrated camp-like area for Antifa. It was so much better than Dr. Drew's reaction, to be honest about it. It was like, listen, man, we have to pressure test ideas. I very rarely get to communicate with outsiders from my cult. We have to pressure test ideas. We have to pressure test ideas. Yo, is anyone here from Owen? Is anyone here from Owen? Hey, thanks, Sarah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us know if you're in the chat from Owen. We've got, for Owen people, for especially new people, if you are new and you want to see the real shit, if you want to see the stuff you will never, ever see on conservative media, if you want stuff you're sure as shit not going to see on leftist media, if you want the real shit, hang around tonight for about another hour and a half. Because I'm not going to tell you guys what the surprise is yet. But it's a really, 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 really good surprise. And you guys are going to be... I'm giving you a gift tonight. I am giving you a gift. And you don't even know how good this gift is going to be. It is just perfect on every possible level with the events of the last couple days. And so stick around. And of course, if you can't stick around for whatever reason, you can always catch the replay. But This is the real shit, ladies and gentlemen. You will see shit on this channel. If you are new here, you will see shit on, and yes, I swear like a sailor, and you're just going to have to get used to that. And if you shame me for swearing, I'm probably going to silence you in my chat and possibly even deport you. You're allowed to not like swear words. I study the far left for a living, ladies and gentlemen. It has literally driven me insane. If I want to do ill-considered things like swear like a sailor and smoke weed sometimes, but definitely not really because I would never get high on the internet, and get tattoos that you don't fucking like because you're complaining about that. And by the way, how fucking stupid were the people in Owen's audience who were calling me Jewish when I'm literally advocating that Antifa get put in concentrated camp-like areas? How fucking stupid is that? Can we just have a conversation? How retarded do you have to be to think seriously that someone who goes undercover with the left for a living, that is literally advocating to put Antifa in concentrated camp-like areas, how in the world do you think I'm fucking Jewish? I say fuck Israel all the time. Literally all the time. And listen, if you're here and you're like, but I'm a Zionist, Karlyn, and I don't like hearing you say fuck Israel. Listen, if you want to learn about the far left, I don't care if you're a Zionist. You can stay. All political beliefs are allowed here, even if I don't agree with them. And for the most part, I won't even argue with you about it. If you want to be a fucking Zionist, then be a Zionist. But if you are allowed to be a Zionist without persecution on this channel, where I say we are not fucking fighting about this, I'm going to express my opinions. You are allowed to express your opinions. Other people in the chat are allowed to express their opinions. Everyone is allowed, as long as you are not fighting or causing problems or insulting people, because that's the problem, Zionists. If we're really honest about it, you retards start insulting people every time you get your feelings hurt. So if you can rein in the fragile feelings and just agree to disagree on that topic, then I will show you whatever far left stuff you want. I don't care what your politics are, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. This is a place for everyone who wants to learn about this topic at a nuanced level, at a really deep dive level. This is the wonky shit. This is the stuff where, let me ask people in my chat, and again, I'm doing this partially for the benefit of anyone who just came over from Owen Schroyer's show. One in the chat, if after you started watching Socialism with me, you became obsessed with the far left. 2 in the chat if that didn't happen to you or hasn't happened to you yet. 1 in the chat if after you started watching Socialism and the far left with me, you became obsessed with watching it because it's that crazy and it's that dystopian, and you will not believe some of the shit that comes out of these people's mouths and that you will never hear about on conservative media. You will literally never hear about it. You will only see it here. And maybe if I happen to get something to go viral on Twitter or wherever. That's a lot of ones in the chat. That's a lot of ones. That's a lot of people saying that has happened to them over and over and over and over and over again. We get socialists on video calling to overthrow the government. We get their planning meetings talking about how they're going to do it. We know their plan years ahead, literally in some cases years ahead of conservative media and pundits and commentators. We have thousands of hours of video of queer Marxists talking about abolishing gender, creating a world of non-binary they-thems, how they're programming kids to do this in schools because it's not about sexualizing the kids and it never has been. They are trying to teach kids that gender does not exist. That is the goal of Drag Queen Story Hour. It is not sexualization. The left is actually against that. For like, you can always find weird people, guys. You can always find weird people that are going to say like bizarre and very toxic things. That doesn't mean it's representative of what the left is doing. What the left is actually doing is just as bad, because what the left is doing is creating this perception among the youngest people via the schools that gender does not exist. That is what they want. a world of non-binary they, thems. They talk about this explicitly. We have them on video talking about abolishing the nuclear family and all the ways they're going to do it, and how they're doing socialist architecture in order to create these communal-like areas where everyone, you don't have a private kitchen in your house anymore, you don't have private laundry facilities, because everyone's going to go to the community canteen to get your food. And that's where you have to go because, by the way, they don't have money anymore in the socialist utopia. They have ration cards. So you get ration cards and you go and you eat in the community canteen, and you're not even going to want a private kitchen because it's all going to be provided for you. We have socialists on video talking about the fact that they want to get rid of parental rights because parental rights are a form of private property ownership. The left's definition of capitalism is private property ownership. We have socialists on video saying parental rights are a form of private property ownership, so parental rights should be abolished, and that people should fundamentally reject biological kinship and create families of choice that is outside of biology. And oh, by the way, how do they plan to reproduce in the socialist utopia where everyone belongs to everyone else and all of the children are taken care of by everyone in the community? How do they plan to reproduce? They want to clone human beings in biobags. They want to gestate human beings in biobags. I have them on video saying this more than one time. I also have evidence that they may be trying to figure out, and I swear to God, this was in a medical journal like 3-4 years ago. I have it covered over on my Substack. They're actually trying to figure out how to gestate babies in the bodies of brain-dead people, both men and women, by the way. They're trying to figure out how to gestate babies in, like, the bodies of brain-dead people, and this is a way of divorcing gender from reproductive ability. There was a paper that was published at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, again, I think it was like 3 years ago, it's on my Substack somewhere, that specifically said their goal was to separate reproductive ability from gender. So if you're growing babies in biobags or you are gestating babies in the bodies of brain dead people, you are separating gender from reproductive ability. This is all done out in the open, by the way. And all I do is I've seen the super chats and channel memberships, and I appreciate it. We're going to get to those in a sec, I promise. Let me take the banner off the screen. We actually got a bunch of channel memberships, but I just haven't counted them yet. I promise you, it is worse than you ever have imagined. And this is why people might think I'm being extreme when I say I want to round up Antifa and put them in concentrated camp-like areas. I can understand for people who don't have the type of exposure to this stuff that I have, I can understand why that might seem extreme. But do you understand that literally the first time I ever went undercover with the far left, I was confronted with an actual real-life abortion shrine. And this was after I went on a tour that taught me how to give myself an abortion at home and bleed the baby out into the toilet. And then once you bleed the baby out into the toilet, you go and worship at the abortion shrine. I have seen this in person. That was the first time I ever went undercover with the left 3 years ago. So if my solutions to this seem extreme, understand that I have seen shit, both online and in person, that would horrify most normal people. And if you stick around the channel long enough, you will see all this shit too. Because they're not hiding it. I understand that Owen didn't really know where to look for it, and that's part of the problem, is that most people don't know where to look for it. Karlyn, then how do you know where to look for it? Because I started researching this topic 5 years ago and have done so almost every day of my life since. It wasn't that I always knew how to find this information. I didn't. You guys, you have no idea. There was a time I was a noob at this too. I learned all this stuff live on the internet, literally live on the internet, doing research into this area. That's what I've been doing on this YouTube channel for years. So I didn't always know where to find these people either. But once you figure out what their tactics are, which are fundamentally different than what the right is doing, by the way. So you can't look at the right and know what the left is doing any more than you can look at the left and know what the right is doing. Once you figure out their tactics, it is very, very, very easy to go down the rabbit hole. And once you start connecting into their activist network, you start to see so much of it, it would blow your mind. You should see the amount of organizing meetings at a local level pop up on my Instagram literally every single day. And sometimes they're nice enough to Zoom those meetings, and so we can actually go into them and watch them live. And it is beyond public. If you want to find it, you can find it. But it's just one of those things where it's like, why do I know where to look and other people don't know where to look? Because I have spent the last 5 years of my life trying to figure this shit out. That's why. It's not that it's impossible. But the fact of the matter is, and I say this for the benefit of new people, if you go on this journey with us, and if you start looking at the real shit, you are going to start to get very, very frustrated with the lack of action on the right. I said this on the show with Owen, but it's absolutely true. Let me demonstrate it again in the chat. One in the chat, if you have had the experience of after watching my content, you have become extremely angry at conservative media and pundits and journalists who hid the truth from you for years. 2 in the chat if that has not happened to you yet. What we only look at primary source evidence on this channel. This is not stuff I create. This is literally the left's own materials. 1 in the chat if you are extremely angry with conservative media and pundits and commentators and influencers who have lied to you for years. 2 in the chat if that hasn't happened to you yet. And with the 2s in the chat, those are newer people that came from Owen. And that's okay to put 2 if it hasn't happened yet. You just got here. That's okay. You just got here. But the chat is full of 1s. The chat is full of 1s. One of the reasons that I've really kind of been paying more attention to Owen Schroyer over the past, like basically ever since he left InfoWars, to be honest, I wasn't a big Owen fan before he left InfoWars. And honestly, it wasn't even that I wasn't a fan. I didn't dislike him. I knew who he was, but I didn't really listen to him. I don't really listen to other content creators. I spend all my time watching the left. I don't really look at other content creators at all, okay? Very, 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 very rarely. And so it's no, like, I'm not trying to shit on Owen or anything. It wasn't I disliked him. I just didn't really listen to him. I didn't listen to anyone. But then I started paying attention after he left InfoWars, not because I have anything against InfoWars or Alex Jones, but just quite frankly, because the public fight that Owen had with Alex Jones was really fucking funny. It was hilarious. And I know it was a very serious thing, and I'm not trying to diminish that. It was sad to see them fighting because it was like watching a father and son fight, or at least like an uncle and a nephew or something like that. It was like watching family members fight. It's like they love each other, but they're just really pissed off at each other right now and they need to work out some feelings. But it was also so hilarious because Alex Jones was so pissed off and he said Owen was possessed by a demon. And it was just like, and I thought Owen won the fight, to be honest about it. I thought Owen absolutely won the fight because Alex just like so lost his mind in the response that he did to Owen that I was just like, so when Owen went on his own, I started listening to him because I thought that thing was really fucking funny. And it turns out that I agree with like 90% of the things that I see him say. I don't listen to him all the time. I'm sure there are topics that he and I would disagree on. Obviously, I know the leftist stuff way more than he does, but he also knows other topics way more than I do. Like all of the Epstein stuff, he knows that way better than I do. So like I might know something better than him. He knows stuff that's better than me, like whatever. But I like his takes and I think he's authentic. And in this time, I feel so starved for authenticity. I interact with very few content creators on the internet because I hate most of them. I hate them. I actually hate them. And every time I see them lie and misinform their audience, and we try to show them evidence and they end up blocking people because they're pissed off the evidence we have contradicts what they're trying to tell people. I actively hate most content creators. There are a few that I like. Owen, of course, I will always talk to him. I think he's so authentic. Harrison Smith has had some of the most like intellectually just like solid conversations with me about the left of anyone else who has ever interviewed me. And so I'm not on anyone's side between Owen or InfoWars. I think Harrison Smith is awesome and I've had excellent conversations with him. Kim Iverson has always been really curious about what I do. And she's again, like intellectually engaging with what I do. Don't agree with her on everything, but like I've had very good conversations with her. But for the most part, like there aren't a lot of content creators I really want to interact with, to be honest, because it's just like, I find it to be infuriating. The far left is a real problem. Most of these people claim to care about the problem, but they don't actually do anything about it. And in fact, not only do they not do anything about it, they lie to their audiences, and then they try to attack anyone that contradicts their narrative. I tell people this all the time, and again, I'm doing this little spiel mostly for the benefit of people who are newer here. I have been attacked way more by the right to an absolute absurd degree. Not just physically attacked, although the last time I was physically attacked by someone at a leftist thing, it was someone on the right who, even though I was wearing a t-shirt with Joseph McCarthy on it, physically assaulted me because he thought I was Antifa. And then the right and Andy No trotted that all over the fucking internet and called me the problem because I was screaming at him after he physically assaulted me. I know that Andy No has blackballed me and the information that I have. I know that for absolute certainty. I know that for absolute certainty. He lies about me behind the scenes. He slanders me behind the scenes because Andy No doesn't know half of the shit that I know. And he knows that he could never debate me on the topic because I would kick his gay ass all the way back to fucking England, where he lives. He does not live in America. And no, he wasn't just he didn't escape America because it wasn't safe for him to live here. Andy No wanted to move to England before all that shit in Portland. I know that because I know people who know him. So no, he didn't have to escape America because of Antifa and they were trying to kill him. They did want to kill him. They want to kill a lot of people, by the way. I've been put on an Antifa hit list wall too. But Andy No pretends to be a journalist from fucking England where he pays other people to do his research for him. He only reports on things that go viral on Twitter or that are directly part of the Trump administration talking points. He lies to his audience all the fucking time. He is fundamentally unhinged from what is going on the ground. And even worse yet, he never wanted to be hinged into reality because Andy makes money by selling a narrative to the right. I don't hold anything back. And I don't want to be involved with these con artists that are grifting off of this desire on the right to fix communism, prevent communism, fight communism, whatever they're doing, defeat the left. I think there are a lot of people on the right that legitimately want that and they don't know what to do. And they have this influencer class that is constantly lying to them about what the problem even is, to the point where You guys should see my comments on Instagram and Facebook on any given day, because I get many, many thousands more views on Instagram and Facebook than I do on any other platform. I know I stream on YouTube, but really my biggest platform is Meta. It's Instagram and Facebook. I get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views on there. Way more than I get over here. You guys should see the amount of retardation in those comments every single day. Conservatives have been made retarded by their own influencers. They have been so lied to and so misinformed that they are brainwashed into believing things are true that are not true, that are directly contradicted by the evidence. I'm going to give you one example of that. You guys want an example of that? I'm going to give you an example of that happened earlier today. Dan Bongino, former number 2 at the FBI, one of the highest paid, most influential people on the conservative establishment right. Dan Bongino tweeted earlier today, "Dear Socialists, when you get a minute, and that shouldn't be hard considering most of you don't have jobs, pop into South Florida and find a Cuban cafe. Make sure to tell everyone they're sipping their coffee how great socialism is. Let us know how that goes. Thanks." First of all, Dan Bongino obviously doesn't fucking realize that socialists in America actually take trips to Cuba. It's not as though they are unaware of what's going on in Cuba. They actually go and provide aid to them on the ground, and they have meetings and stuff like that. I would expect the former deputy director of the FBI to know this, but even more than that, the fact that the former deputy director of the FBI and one of the most influential conservative voices is perpetuating the absolute fraud that they don't have jobs. It is disgusting. And it's lies like this that conservative media has brainwashed their audience with, so that their audience is completely incapable of hinging into reality with what is actually going on. And so I replied to Dan Bongino, and I have almost never interacted with this guy ever, because he's so beneath me, it's not even funny. I don't care how many listeners he has. I don't care about how much money he makes. He is a sub 75 IQ retard. And I said, rather appropriately, I think, only literal retards think they don't have jobs. They control the unions, you moron. How do you think they do that if they don't have jobs? They control K through 12 public schools and higher education. How do they do that if they don't have jobs? People like you are the problem. Do you guys know how I've told you for a while? We have more information available to us than the FBI does. We know more about what the far left is doing than the literal FBI and the literal White House. This is the former deputy director of the FBI lying to the American people. And when I said that to him, he blocked me. Really, this was the number 2 at the FBI. Do not tell me these people know more about what's going on than I do. I do not believe you. I do not believe you. Now, why is this important? Karlyn, a content creator, is saying something stupid on the internet. Why is this important? Well, if you do not understand that unions, The labor unions are the backbone of far left organizing. And we're talking all the labor unions. We are talking every single one except for the police union. The left doesn't believe the police union is a real union. It is not included in this, but every other labor union. Do you guys know how many labor unions there are in the country? And it's not just the higher ed labor unions. It's not just the teachers unions, although it is those things. They completely control both higher education and the K through 12 schools. How are they doing this if they don't have fucking jobs? And if you really think that they don't have jobs, then why would you believe that they are controlling your kids' educational experience? But it's not just them. It's the auto workers, it's the airline workers, it's the electricians, it's the iron workers. How do I know this? Because I go into their union organizing calls and I record them. It's the Teamsters, it's the AFL-CIO, it's the SEIU, all of that. It's the fucking flight attendants union. The president of the flight attendants union is a Marxist. I have this woman on video from multiple socialist organizing calls. It is every type of union that you could think of. Now, UPS, Amazon Workers Union, Starbucks Union, every single one. We infiltrate socialist and leftist organizing calls all the time. There are always 100% of the time union members on those calls. 100% of the time. If you think a group of people doesn't have jobs, then how would you even begin to understand that they control all of the labor unions? These lies are not insignificant. These lies have brainwashed millions of well-meaning, right-leaning people who I think are more liberal, but whatever, they claim to be conservatives. These lies and these myths have brainwashed millions of well-meaning people, many of whom are boomers who believe everything they hear on the TV and only watch Fox News. They have brainwashed them to not even be able to begin to interact with what the left is actually doing. I think there need to be congressional organizing, I think there need to be congressional hearings into the organizing activities of the unions. I want to see union members dragged in front of Congress with videos of their organizing calls being shown and say, can you explain this? Because if you've never seen one of their organizing calls and you've never seen some of the things they say, we have them calling to overthrow the government. We have them calling to break federal law. We have them openly advocating for illegal behavior. We have them talking about how they're going to create, protests and riots. I recorded the North Carolina Teachers Union vice president saying they were going to shut down K through 12 schools across the state of North Carolina on May Day. Conservatives were shocked when this happened. I recorded this weeks before May 1st. Weeks before all of the teachers in North Carolina literally shut down schools across the entire state. I recorded them weeks before saying that is what we are going to do. And then they did it. And then conservatives were like, how did this happen? How did this happen? Retards, I told you weeks ago it was going to, and I provided you video evidence, and you didn't even fucking bother to listen. There are so many myths that are propagated by these people because they are more committed to the narrative than they are to the truth. And that is a reality people need to face. People say all the time, they say, I'm on the left. How fucking stupid are you if you think I'm on the left? But they claim that, and the people who say that I'm on the left doesn't even understand basic 101 level information about who the real far left is and what they actually believe. We see this all the time with people on the channel. And again, you will see this if you stick around in the chat. We get new people here all the time. And listen, I love it when new people join the channel, but I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Actually, for all of the new people here, I'm going to give you a really, really good piece of advice. I'm going to play you an instructional video, and I need you to heed this warning. Okay, ready? All new people paying attention. I don't mean any offense by this, but it's something you need to hear.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do. Because we see this all the time with newer people who are like, I want to learn about the left. And then they come into my chat and they yap and they yap and they yap and they yap. And nothing that they say is hinged into reality. And they're yelling at me because I'm not telling them that they're Soros funded, and they're pissed off, and they're calling me a leftist, and they're complaining and they're whining. And then I say, okay, you think you know more about the left than I do? How does the left define capitalism? That's like the shibboleth on this channel. This is how we know who pays attention to the left and who doesn't pay attention to the left. How does the left define capitalism? If you know the answer to this question, and it is a very simple answer, and it is 3 words long, and there is only one answer. If you know the answer to this question, then you have actually listened to the left because they say it all the time. If you do not know that when the left says capitalism, they mean private property ownership explicitly, not, well, there are different meanings for it. No, there are not different meanings on the left. You might have a different meaning, but your opinion doesn't matter. What we need to understand is what the left believes. Their actions, their behaviors, their chaos. It is all based on their beliefs. It is not based on your fucking feelings. It is not based on what you think is true. It doesn't matter. The left is showing up in the world and behaving in the way that they want to in order to achieve their vision. Their vision is not created off of your truth. Their vision is created based on how they see the world. That is what we are trying to understand. And so we get people in here all the time yapping and telling me I need to watch Yuri Bezmenov and telling me I'm wrong when I'm absolutely not wrong, and I have video evidence to back up every single thing that I say. And we have to silence them. We actually do. Because until people start shutting the fuck up and listening to what the left is saying, stop talking. Stop waiting to hear yourself talk. No one's here to listen to you. You're in my classroom. They're not coming to hear from you. They're coming to hear from me. Until you do this, you will not understand the left. You've got to shut the fuck up and listen to them. Now, let me ask the chat again. I will ask for proof of concept in the chat. One in the chat, if shutting the fuck up and listening to what the left is saying was a really good idea and you have learned more than you ever thought possible. 2 in the chat if I'm just a big meanie and that's why I'm telling you to shut the fuck up. 1 in the chat if you think that shutting the fuck up and listening is a really good idea and really beneficial. 2 in the chat if you think I'm just doing it because I'm a big fucking meanie. When you shut the fuck up and listen, you will start to slowly unlearn every single lie that you have ever been told about the left. You will start to slowly unlearn everything. And you will see the evidence for yourself. You will see directly from them. And we don't cut anything out of context, by the way. When I say we watch the left, what I mean, I do not mean we watch their TikTok videos. We are not libs of TikTok. We are so much fucking better than libs of TikTok. It will blow your fucking mind. I'm not going through Instagram reels. We do that every once in a while for fun, but that's not a serious endeavor. We watch their actual trainings from start to finish. We watch the classes they give to each other. We watch their organizing calls. We watch their conferences. We don't take clips out of context. We watch the whole thing from start to finish. So when you're watching my content, you will never have to question, has Karlyn edited this to make it seem like something is true that is not true? You will be able to see it all for yourself. And I will always give you the source material. So if you want to go watch it yourself, go watch it yourself. You don't have to watch it with me. If you don't like me, you don't like my tone, you don't like my swearing, you don't like my tattoos, you still think I weigh more than I do, which, by the way, Owen's chat, I've lost 70 pounds in about 7 fucking months, so fuck you guys. I saw all in Owen's chat, she's using filters. Oh, the fuck I am. The fuck I am. I haven't eaten carbs and sugar in 7 fucking months. Anyway. So that is my rant for newbies. And if you are new here, and I did mention this on Owen's show, hang on 1 second. Hang on, I'm going to make it even more accessible than it was before. Hang on. If you are new here, and you just came over from Owen's show, I mentioned this, but if you want an introduction to the far left, head over to my Substack. That is Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. I want you to click on new to my work, start here, and I will put the link in the chat right now. There you go. And then I want you to scroll down, and I want you to start by taking 90 minutes to watch Re-Education, an Anti-Communist Introduction to the Far Left. You can find this on YouTube, you can find it on Rumble, but this is just the easiest way to get it to everyone. This is a 90-minute presentation where I walk you through over a dozen clips from real far left training so that you can get a crash course into what their language means. And yes, this is all free. This is all free. So you don't, is that, Karlyn, you want me to pay money for this? No, I don't. I made it available publicly for free. If you like that, you can watch my 4-hour expanded version, How to Speak Socialist, where I go into much greater depth on literally every single topic. And if you really want to get into the real shit, you want to learn about queer Marxism, the left's most dystopian ideology, which, contrary to what conservative retards will tell you, did not begin 15 fucking years ago. Queer Marxism started in 1950 with the Mattachine Society in Los Angeles, which was a group of 5 gay men that got kicked out of the Communist Party and formed their own society called the Mattachine Society, and it has been evolving ever since. Queer Marxism is like gain-of-function Marxism. It doesn't completely divorce itself from Marxism, but it is also evolved in a uniquely American way to where it's its own thing that has influences from the BDSM community, from the punk community, from different militant. This is like, I basically lay out the history of this is queer activism in America. No one else has this content. Literally no one else. And if someone thinks I'm lying, debate me, bro. No one else has studied this phenomenon to the extent that I have, and I'm currently working on a book about it, and hopefully it'll be out in a month or two, and I definitely need to beat Andy No's stupid garbage Trantifa book. So this has been one of my specialty areas for the past several years because it's so insane. If you like dystopian novels, if you like things like 1984 and Brave New World, queer Marxism is like dystopia happening all around us in real time, and it's worse than any dystopian novel that you have ever read. So all of these resources are available for free. This is on my Substack. You can subscribe as a monthly or annual supporter if you want to, but you don't have to. And so you can find that by going to Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. So it's 7 p.m. Now, I'm going to tell you what we were going to do originally. Originally, I was going to watch with you guys a DSA workshop that happened at the Socialism Conference. The Socialism Conference, for people who don't know, is the actual name of the conference. And we were going to watch a workshop that the DSA gave about how the labor unions are organizing. Because I really wanted to give Dan Bongino a middle fucking finger and say, you are the former deputy director of the FBI, and you don't know that the left controls the labor unions, you stupid motherfucker. They control them to such a degree that they do live presentations at the Socialism Conference about how they are using the unions to advance socialist activism. This was recorded 10 months ago, or I guess almost a year ago now. It got uploaded a little bit later than that, but the Socialism Conference last year was 4th of July weekend. I'm pretty sure. It's Labor Day this year. And by the way, if you're like, Karlyn, what the fuck is the Socialism Conference? That sounds awesome. You're right, it is. And we will be doing full 4-day coverage of the Socialism Conference. We will watch all their live streams. We will break down all the presentations. We literally watch like 48 hours worth of socialism over the course of 4 days. If you're ready, that's the real shit. When you get to the point that you can sit with me and watch more than 8 hours of socialism a day for several days in a row, that's when you know you are in the right place. You found the cult. You're in the right place. You're never leaving now. Your life is over. I'm going to change the way you see everything. I'm not going to prevent you from leaving if you want to, but I promise you, you're not going to want to once you start seeing the real shit. However, we do have a surprise coming up in about an hour, and you're going to want to stick around for the surprise. I promise you. So we are not sadly going to do the DSA presentation right now because it's too long. But I can do that another day. But I've got something better. I've got something better that I think people are really going to like. If you're here for the real shit, this is going to be a shorter video to watch that we're going to be able to do within the time frame, okay? But this is also going to be a better video to watch if you want the real shit. Let me introduce you, and I promise I will get the super chats and channel memberships. Thank you, guys. Let me introduce you to the Denver Communists. The Denver Communists are a real far-left revolutionary group in Denver that are part of a national collaborative called the Firebrand Collective. That includes revolutionary groups not only in Denver, but in Seattle, I think in Los Angeles, in New York, in Boston, I think they have some in the South now, I feel like. I don't remember all of their chapters, but they have people all over the country that are real revolutionary socialists. And the Denver Communists like to bless us with content. Yes, they know I watch it. No, they don't like me. They have me blocked on Instagram, but luckily I have an Instagram account they don't know about where I can still see all of their content. Fuck you guys. And the Denver Communists just the other day uploaded Queer Liberation and Socialism. And I really wanted to watch this. I want to watch this. You guys want to watch this? Does this sound good? Does anyone want to deep dive into queer liberation and socialism? You guys think you've seen crazy shit? This is about to blow your fucking mind. But before we do that, let me get the super chats and channel memberships I've been rudely ignoring. Thank you, Trendolin, for the 20. How much money do you need for us to do another stream of my choice? That's going to be another 50 gifted channel memberships, Trendolin. That is the price. For the moment, Trendolin, if you want me to do something like watch a stupid video, the price is donate 50 channel memberships to the chat. And I will watch the stupid fucking video. And if you get too out of control, Trendolin, I will simply raise the price. Okay, we will get, the worse the videos get that you make me watch, the price is going to go up. If you're reasonable in this exchange, I will keep the price the same, but like that is it will be a sliding scale if you start to piss me off. Okay, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Kelsey, welcome back to the channel. I know you had to rejoin. W's to you guys. Anytime someone gets a channel membership or gives a channel membership, we do W's in the chat. They're not only supporting me, they're also supporting the community. We got I Am with a gifted channel membership. W's to you, I Am. We got Grillison with 5 gifted channel memberships. W's to you, Grillis. That brings us up to 7 total. Guys, we do have a channel membership goal today. I promise this is going to be worth the price of admission. We got Dietz in there. Just finished watching you with Owen. Massive W. Yeah, I thought that was definitely a W. We got Malcolm in there. W's, good sir. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted channel memberships. You rock. Let me add that to the tally here. Hang on. Get back to the chat. Illustration Station, thank you for the super chat. I hope Owen actually listens and learns. I think he will. Still hearing standard con talking points, and yes, obsessed with far left insanity. It's hard not to be obsessed with it. Hard not to be. W's to you, Ninja Artist. Thank you so much for that. We got I Am in with the $2. Have you seen? We have seen crap. Karlyn has seen shit. Yeah, so real. So real and true. So real and true. I've seen the real shit, but other people have too now. So that's important. Thank you for the $20, Allens. I know this is hyperbole and the Republicans suck, but if the Dems win in 2028, do you recommend any of us have dissident right-wing opinions to delete all our social media? Yeah, probably. Nick Fuentes says he's leaving if the Dems win in 28. Well, I'm worried about a lot more things than that right now, because I'm worried about the left shutting down the economy to spark a revolution against the government starting on May 1st of 2028. So I'm worried about things happening before that, but yeah, probably we should. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you for your encouraging content. God bless. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We got Donnie in. Don Redmond, thank you so much. You have taught me so much. Thank you, Don. I appreciate the super chat. Hey, Grace, good to see you. You look so healthy and beautiful. Thank you, Grace. Very nice. I'm taking a break from all things political, but still support what you're doing. Girl, take a break. I've been doing a lot of shopping lately myself. I am coping by buying purses and shoes and things like that. But it's really fun and I'm enjoying it. So whatever. Chica Lago's got a W. Thank you so much. Another W. Thank you so much for that. We got John in with a W. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate that. We got Red Menace Nick here. I encourage Trent to let it go crazy. Well, if Trent wants to pay me money to do stuff, that's fine. I'm a capitalist. Like, if you want to pay me money, well, to be reasonable. Anyway, to be reasonable. We got Donnie Girl with 5. Thank you so much, Donnie Girl. Appreciate you. An old sub, the consummate legend of the channel, the legend of old sub is perpetual. Thank you so much, old sub, for the 20 gifted channel memberships. I'm trying to do math here to figure out where we are. I think we're up to 41 now. Thank you so much, old sub. You are a king. You are a legend. W's to you, my friend. And then we got Ninja Artist in there with 1. Thank you so much, Ninja Artist. That's bringing us up to 42. Cool. Guys, I do have a 100 channel membership goal, either through channel gifts or by buying memberships yourself if you feel like doing that. We do that to make sure my work is independently funded, because that's how I get to do this shit. The only way I can do this without any political talking points, and I don't do ad reads like Owen does. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be good at ad reads. I would rather not do ad reads. You don't want me to do ad reads anyway. So we fund it by people gifting channel memberships out to the community. That gets you access to our spy streams where we go inside a live leftist organizing call, which is awesome. You don't know how cool it is until you see the left doing this shit live. Donnie Girl, thank you for the 5 gifted channel memberships. W's to you. But if you guys want to help me get to that goal, please feel free to throw in some channel memberships. Hang on. Got to do math here. 5 plus 2 is 7, 8. There we go. I too can do math without a calculator. Thank you, Mike, for that. I appreciate it. I will add that to the goal. So we have 50 minutes roughly until the surprise, okay? So we are going to dig in to this presentation, Queer Liberation and Socialism. This was given by the Denver Communists, and this is a recording for people who don't know what we're watching. This is a recording of their meeting. So the Denver Communists essentially, hey, thanks so much, Triple W's. Thank you for the channel membership. So essentially, the Denver Communists will get on a Zoom call and they will talk to each other about what they believe, and they will give a presentation, and they record the presentation, and then they store it here for posterity. So this is not for entertainment. This is their educational programming. So we are watching direct content from them. You're going to hear what they say. I will break down what I can to teach you the language if you're new here, because the language might be a little fuzzy if you've never heard it before, but we will help you understand it. If you have questions, please ask them, especially for new people. There are no stupid questions. Just be respectful and ask a serious question, please. Don't be like, excuse me, doesn't the left know that real communism has never been tried? Yeah, they do, actually. Yeah, they do. So just don't do stupid shit like that. Just be respectful. I would appreciate it. W's to you, Dr. Raleigh Fox. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me add that to the goal. We are halfway to our goal tonight, and I think we're going to hit it tonight. I do. Let's dig in.
All right. So I want to preface this presentation with a question, actually. So in a time where queer rights are at the forefront of our nation's political discourse and landscape, I want to ask, what does queer liberation mean to you?
They're just chatting in, so their answers are in their own Zoom chat.
When many people think of queer liberation or queerness in general, they think of modern times, or at the very least, as far back as the Stonewall uprisings in the 1960s. However, queer history and liberation movements date back farther, since the 1950s and before. The gay bar scene was already a thing well into the 1940s. Of course, opening a gay or queer bar at that time had a lot of caveats. Most were run by the mafia or other criminal elements, who in turn would occasionally extort and work with police against their own queer patrons.
Okay, so I want to point something out. This person has just said all of the gay bars that he's hearkening back to the 1960s, where you had a lot of queer liberation events. You had the Cooper's Donut thing that happened in Los Angeles. You had Compton's Cafeteria riot that happened in San Francisco. The one that most people know about is Stonewall, that happened in New York City in 1969. But that wasn't the first time it happened. There were other preceding events leading up to it. So what he's saying is that at that time, the police would work with the mafia who owned the gay bars in order to allow the mafia to extort the gay patrons. Now, when the left says queer, they don't mean gay or trans. I know that sounds confusing, but I'm going to explain why that it is in a second. They don't mean gay or trans. When the left says queer, they mean a far left radical political ideology. You can be trans and not be queer. Caitlyn Jenner is trans. Caitlyn Jenner is not queer. When Caitlyn Jenner says the term trans, they mean transition. When queer Marxists say the word trans, they do not mean transition, because they do not believe that gender should exist. When they say trans, and I have them on video saying this, they mean transform or transcend. Okay? Transform gender into something else, transcend gender entirely. And if you don't believe me, just look up, just Google search right now on your own device, transforming gender. That's what they're trying to do. That is fundamentally different than what Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White are trying to do. You might not like trans people, but this is an important distinction that people need to make, because trans people that want to uphold the gender binary, they believe that men and women are a thing. They believe they have a mental condition where it makes more sense for them to live as one gender, not the other. They do things to socially transition. They try to fit into polite society, whether you like them or not. Those people are not the far left. Those people are mentally ill, okay? People with like weird sexual fetishes like autogynephilia and things like that like are men that get turned on by dressing like women and that sort of stuff. Those people have mental health conditions. That doesn't mean they are part of the activist far left. When the activist far left is queering their gender, they are doing it as a political act to be outside of the gender binary of men and women. These are not the same group. On the channel, we do a lot of separation of groups, because what we're trying to do fundamentally is understand a subculture, okay? The queer Marxist subculture, the militant queers, the people who are getting violent, the people who look insane and have all these weird tattoos and weird haircuts. These are good tattoos. I have good tattoos. I don't have queer tattoos. Queer tattoos are very specifically bad, to make a point about them being bad. Anyway, so we have this group of queer Marxists over here, and then we have a group of mentally ill trans people who know on some level that they're mentally ill. I'm not trying to be derogatory. They have an abnormality. These are fundamentally different problems. You have got to separate them and compartmentalize them if you're going to understand what's going on. So when we're talking about queer liberation, it may seem sometimes like they're talking about gay, but they're not. It may seem sometimes that they're talking about trans, but they're not. Gay rights activists or gay people in general are not necessarily queer unless they are anti-capitalist revolutionaries. There are no conservative queer people. The only queer people are on the far left. And so we have to know what we're talking about here. In fact, if you want the greatest distinction, and again, I'm not going to go into all of this until they start talking about it, but like the biggest thing that people don't understand is that the real queer far left never wanted gay marriage to be legalized. This is the biggest schism that exists between normal gay and lesbians and queer Marxists. Normie gay and lesbians just wanted to get married, and they just wanted to be able to visit their loved ones in the hospital. And you may have an issue with gay marriage. I don't really give a fuck. But like, they wanted to be normal. They wanted to assimilate to capitalist society. That is a fundamentally different thing than the queer Marxists who have been writing since the 60s. It's going back in all their papers to the 60s. They do not want gay marriage because they believe marriage is a propertied institution under capitalism. They believe marriage creates the nuclear family, which perpetuates capitalist values. They call gay people who get married and buy property and engage in capitalism, they call them homonormative. It's like a slur. It's like saying they're not real gay people because they're upholding capitalism. When the left says liberation, they are talking about overthrowing capitalism in every single instance. So if you are a gay person that gets married, that buys a house, that adopts some kids, and again, you might not agree with that, fine, and we're not talking about your feelings though, but like, they're assimilating to society. They are assimilating to capitalism, and that is what the left hates. In fact, yeah, should I play the song real quick? I should play the song. Guys, this is for new people. We haven't played the song in a while, but like, this is a really good introduction to what queer Marxism is, okay? We're going to come back to this presentation, but let me play this real quick because this is a song written by a queer punk rock band that lays out everything real queer Marxists believe. So hang on. Where's the song?
I don't wanna get married. I don't wanna be just like you. Nobody bothered to ask me. They said I ought to be just like you. Well, I could get a marriage license for a husband and me, so I could use the health insurance for my HART. Since I can buy a taxi with the same gender spouse, I shouldn't feel so bad getting kicked out of my house. Don't
By the way, the Queer Marxism Project is something that I'm working on in conjunction with the book I'm writing about it, where I'm trying to create an online resource to help people understand all this stuff by seeing directly their evidence. But you heard them say in that song, these are queers. These are not gay. They are not gay. They are queer. It is a fundamentally different thing. They never wanted gay marriage to be legalized. They never wanted to be included in the military. They were fighting with all of the normie gay rights organizations like the Human Rights Campaign. And again, this is going back in their own literature for decades. They were doing this in the open. I will read the literature with you. I will show you them saying it decades ago. Conservatives never bothered to research this stuff, so they don't even understand the group they're fighting. They think they're fighting the gays. The Republicans are even talking about repealing gay marriage to this day. If Republicans ever repeal gay marriage, they will hand real far left revolutionaries the biggest win that they have had in 15 fucking years. Maybe even more. Maybe even more. Yeah. Annalisa, welcome. You're confused? That's because you've been lied to by your influencers. You're confused because you've been lied to by people. And you've been lied to by people that you trusted to inform you. But the problem is, whether they lied intentionally or they just didn't do their research before they ran their mouth about a topic they didn't understand, they misinformed you. Whatever you listen to, and I'm not going to make guesses, it's not your fault, by the way. But stick around and you will see everything that I'm saying like bear out in the primary source evidence. We got Preacher's Wife here who's relatively new to the channel. It takes 3 to 6 months to deprogram everything you've been told about the far left. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember, every single person who has ever found my work before has been in your place, okay? I've been doing this for years publicly on the internet. Every single person who has ever come here and been new to the channel had an oh shit moment, or maybe several oh shit moments, where they started to realize how much they were never told. So we will help you. We will help you understand. We will try to teach you what we know. We will show you the evidence. If you want to be mad, because most of us are fucking mad. So welcome. Let's get back to the presentation.
Oops. Sorry. All right. Criminalization of homosexual acts and so-called quote-unquote perversions were a reality of life for most, if not all, queer people in these times of the United States. The grim reality was that you could not fully express yourself the way you are without threat of violence and punishment by the state and the law. The police actively targeted queer establishments and individuals. So-called vice squads would patrol city streets looking for queer-friendly bars and...
Hang on one sec. We got I Am. Thank you for being a member of the channel for 18 months. Here for some newest awesome crap moments. Yeah, I appreciate that, I Am. Thank you. I wanted to mention, people think of he's primarily talking about the Stonewall riot here. The Stonewall riot took place in 1969 in New York City. People think on the right that Stonewall was about gay rights. Stonewall was not about gay rights. And the left will say this. Actually, hang on. So one of the things I do when I'm traveling around and I'm going undercover with the left is anytime I'm going to a new city to go to an Antifa event or a far left event, I always make sure to look for radical revolutionary socialist bookstores. Because one of the ways the left propagates their ideology is there are far left bookstores in every major city in this country. If you don't believe me, go into ChatGPT or whatever AI you use and say, can you tell me where there are far left radical revolutionary communist socialist bookstores in this particular area. And it will spit out a list for you and it will tell you exactly where they are and why they consider them to be far left bookstores. These bookstores exist all over the country. There's also a network of far left revolutionary book publishers that publish a ton of books that are not only sold in these bookstores, but are also sold to colleges and universities and taught to your little darlings via the communists who work in higher education all over the country. Additionally, the primary way the left spreads propaganda is in something called a zine. You may have heard the term zine from the recent Prairieland trial, in which many Antifa members in that trial were charged specifically because they had Antifa zines in their car. Zines are another area that we really focus on the channel. Zines are available in every far left bookstore. They are handed out at every far left event. Most of the time they're free. Sometimes you have to buy them. There are specific zine publishers that only publish far left material. There are zine collections of far left propaganda in every college library that I have ever looked at. We read the zines because the zines tell us what ideas are being propagated on the far left. We collect the zines. I have a massive archive of this stuff that I have specifically collected from far left events and far left bookstores and far left things that I have been to in person. This is a zine that I bought at a queer bookstore in New York City last September when I was there to go undercover with Antifa. Okay? You may have remembered I was on Fox News for this and I looked kind of green because they put some weird filter on me. But like, I was on Fox News talking about going undercover with Antifa in New York City. This is one of the things I got at a queer bookstore when I was there. This is titled "Stonewall Was a Riot Against Police Brutality on Whitewashing Queer Resistance." And the back of it, which you can see, that's what it looks like. As a queer, trans, and non-binary people, we need to stand in solidarity and action in refusal of joining the status quo. We need to stay fucking mad and protest, donate, and coalition build with each other to actively work towards the dismantling of the white supremacist police state. That is what queer propaganda looks like. These are the ideas that are perpetuated in their community. The point I'm trying to make is that for queer Marxists, Stonewall was not a riot for gay rights. Stonewall was a riot against the police. The police are like enemy number one on the left. They want to abolish the police, defund the police. They believe the police are the managers of private property. The police are the managers of capitalism, because that's what capitalism is defined as, private property ownership. Police protect property, therefore police are the protectors of capitalism. So, I give you this explanation so that when you know that this queer Marxist is not talking about Stonewall as a gay rights exercise, they are talking about Stonewall as a riot against the police because the police were working with the mafia who owns Stonewall, the bar, and the police were allowing the mafia to exploit the queers in the bar in order to profit under capitalism. Listen to him say it again now that you know what you're listening for.
All queer people in these times of the United States. The grim reality was that you could not fully express yourself the way you are without threat of violence and punishment by the state and the law. The police actively targeted queer establishments and individuals. So-called vice squads would patrol city streets looking for queer-friendly bars and establishments, mass arrest individuals they believed to be violating so-called indecency laws. As well as mass arrests, police would have undercover agents pose as queer individuals and attempt to entrap anyone who made advances towards them. Police quotas and discriminatory practices targeted minorities, especially queer people at these times.
Oh, the ladder! Yo! What did I say to you guys earlier? I haven't watched this presentation. What did I say to you guys earlier? Queer Marxism started with what? The Mattachine Society. This is exactly the group of 5 communists I was talking about earlier. The Mattachine Society, Harry Hay in Los Angeles. And guess what? The first chapter in my book, Queer Marxism, is about the Mattachine Society. The second chapter in my book, Queer Marxism, is about the Daughters of Bilitis. I told you guys about the Daughters of Bilitis the other day. I said the Daughters of Bilitis had this newsletter, The Ladder, that they were sending around to lesbians all over the country, and then the Queer Marxists started it, and the Daughters of Bilitis used to just be a group of lesbians who wanted to be lesbians, and then the Queer Marxists infiltrated and they started trying to make them leftist activists, essentially. You already knew? You knew I was going to see it? Yo,
in the time of McCarthyism, and the Red and Lavender Scare was in full effect. It was almost social suicide to either be a communist or a queer person, or worse, both. However, one man named Harry Hay, who was a former member of the communist...
That's actually important. So you can be a communist, you can be a queer person, or you can be both. Just because you are a communist does not mean you are a queer person, but all queer people are communists, okay? There is not a single queer person that is not also a communist, but not all communists are queer. And not all communists believe in queer Marxism either. There are plenty of communists who don't believe in queer Marxism. Queer Marxism is its own subculture within the revolutionary far left. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm an ex-cop on way far right. Fuck that. Yeah, I don't like the police either. I don't like the police either. Bro, I totally agree with you. I'm an anarcho-capitalist at heart. I don't like the police, but what you got to understand is your reason for not liking the police and my reason for not liking the police is very different than the far left's reason for not liking the police, okay? It's not as though they don't want to have people that are enforcing rules. They just believe that fundamentally the police can't do it under communism. So it's totally fine to not like the police. I personally don't like the police, but our reasons are very, very different than the left. And I need you to understand that.
Party USA, and either be a communist or a queer person, or worse, both. However, one man named Harry Hay, who was a former member of the Communist Party USA and gay man who helped created the Mattachine Society, Los Angeles, California, which was a homophile organization that helped advance awareness to the human rights of gay men. The Mattachine Society began writing magazines and pamphlets that helped spread awareness about the human rights of gay men. The first magazine to be published was the One Institute, formerly known as One Inc. Another homophile society was created with the intention of giving lesbian women a safe...
Honestly, I was just wondering this. The Denver communists know who I am. The Denver communists know I'm researching queer Marxism. Did the Denver communists actually watch my work on their ideology and copy it? Because Reagan says everything in this presentation aligns with what I said. Wouldn't that be fucking hilarious if the Denver communists cribbed this from me because I know their own ideology better than they do? Wouldn't that be funny? I see you, Denver communists. I know you watch my content, even if you pretend you don't.
Safe space. This society was called the Daughters of Bilitis, founded in the Castro district of San Francisco, California. After being established, the women of Daughters of Bilitis began publishing their own magazine called The Ladder. This was the first ever magazine for lesbian women in the United States. Together, these societies brought much needed awareness to the early queer movements, especially in the urban USA.
Compton's Cafeteria Riot! I've covered that! That's in my book too. I've covered that extensively.
As awareness around queer people grew, it set up the recipe for more militant struggles. A series of rebellions and riots began to spring up in the 1960s. These struggles helped launch queer advocacy to the national scene. One struggle began in August 1966, San Francisco. A group of transgender women and drag queens were being harassed and threatened with arrest by police until one poured her coffee on a policeman. This led to groups of trans women and drag queens to pour into the streets and fight back against police harassment. Many were arrested, but felt that it was well worth the struggle. This was known as the Compton Cafeteria Riots in Tenderloin District of San Francisco. Militant sit-ins and rebellions against...
By the way, if you are in the Bay Area, there is actually a play, Compton's Cafeteria Riot. There is actually a play in the Tenderloin in San Francisco in which they reenact the Compton's Cafeteria Riot, and I've been to it. And I have a recording of it that we're going to listen to at some point because Trendlin went to it and secretly recorded it for me. Trendlin came with me the first time and then she went again to record it for me. So we have the full audio of this play. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but we have the audio. This is a full immersive experience in their little queer liberation riot where you're actually sitting in a diner and you see a bunch of drag queens and police officers and people are throwing things and all this stuff. And in the middle of the play, do you know what comes in? There's a group of communists that were recruiting in the Compton's cafeteria, and they actually handed out copies of their newsletter. It was called, I believe, what was it? The Vanguard? I think that was the name of the group of communists that were recruiting in this. It was called the Vanguard Group. So again, literal communists based on the left's own history. And you guys can go see this play. It's actually very well done, and it's very fun to go to. You guys can go and see it and experience it for yourself. But like at the core of this, in the left's own history, is that the communists were at the center of one of their most famous queer liberation moments of the 60s.
Violence that targeted queer people helped pave the way for bigger and more notable rebellions in the coming years. One such rebellion helped project LGBTQIA+ issues onto the national consciousness. On June 28, 1969, the police decided to raid the Stonewall Inn, Greenwich Village, Manhattan.
Wouldn't it be funny as hell if we all went as a group to the Compton's Cafeteria Riot play and we just took the whole thing over? Wouldn't that be like the funniest fucking thing that's ever happened in the history of like anything? But I am on a hit list in San Francisco. True story, by the way. The last time I went to San Francisco, I got chased out of an event by some communist who had like 8 pictures of me on his phone. I have gone undercover in San Francisco one too many times, and I'm literally on an Antifa hit list where they walk around with pictures of me at events to try to make sure I'm not there. I've had to up my that's, by the way, why I decided to start losing weight, for people who are curious about that. The losing weight was my way to disguise myself so the communists who have pictures of me would have the wrong pictures.
As they gathered everyone outside to be processed, the queer patrons began hurling coins and other projectiles at the policemen. As things escalated, the police barricaded themselves into the bar. Definitely. The queer patrons and rebels barged through the barricades, and some even said they began to set parts of the bar on fire. People began to pour into the streets and riot en masse. Thus, the Stonewall Rebellion began. To this day, Stonewall is the backbone to modern-day Pride. Denver Pride Parade is still held on the 28th of June. After the rebellion, Mattachine Society becomes more irrelevant at this time.
True.
They call for peaceful
and
safe.
The reason the Mattachine Society became more irrelevant is because the Mattachine Society as a gay men's organization grew very quickly, but the leadership was communist. Not everyone who joined the Mattachine Society was communist. And at some point, the membership figured out that the leadership was communist and they basically kicked them all out. So the Mattachine Society just became an organization that was about normie gay rights and less about communism. So that's why the Mattachine Society became irrelevant in the queer liberation movement.
Safe conduct at Greenwich Village against the wishes of many other queer
I think it's still
rebels
a bar.
and rioters at that time.
I don't know. Yeah, I cover all this in my book. Literally all these things.
More queer outreach groups, with some of them being more militant. One such group was the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, aka STAR, in East Village, Manhattan, formed by Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera.
They were from the Stonewall
Together,
riot.
they originally provided food, education, and shelter for transgender youth. They published their goals in a manifesto in which they advocated for bodily autonomy, freedom of expression and dress, and an end to police harassment for all transvestites and gay people. Starr later worked with other militant
We haven't studied them, but I had to write about them, so I know about them a little bit.
Founded by Martha Shelley, who was a former member of Daughters of Bilitis, and the Gay Activist Alliance.
So Marsha Shelley was one of the more revolutionary members of the Daughter Abilitas. Again, the Daughters Abilitas was just a normal lesbian, kind of like lesbians hanging out together organization. People like Marsha Shelley became revolutionary, though, and when the Daughters Abilitas didn't want to let Marsha Shelley be revolutionary, she went and started the Gay Liberation Front.
By Marty Robinson. Together, these groups provided a safeguard and increased invisibility for queer liberation. The Gay Liberation Front argued that capitalism as a system necessitates as much profit extraction as possible. In order to uphold this system, it perpetuates bigotries to divide the working class, such as homophobia, transphobia, racism, and misogyny.
Capitalism oppresses gay people in order to extract as much profit from them as possible. What the queer far left believes is that capitalism creates all oppression, capitalism creates all problems, and they literally believe that queers will not be free until capitalism is overturned. And they just said it. The Gay Liberation Front was not about gay rights. The Gay Liberation Front was anti-capitalist because they don't believe that gays and lesbians and all the other queers, because you don't need to be gay or lesbian to be a queer, they believe that no one is free until capitalism is overturned. Well, these people are winning and you're losing. So perhaps learn what they believe, because these people are queering your kids in public school right now. So if you don't understand what they believe, then you're kind of fucked.
The Liberation Front argued that capitalism as a system necessitates as much profit extraction as possible. In order to uphold this system, it perpetuates bigotries to divide the working class, such as homophobia, transphobia, racism, and misogyny, that are all fueled by the system. Capitalism utilizes ideas such as the nuclear family to uphold the cis-hetero patriarchy that dominates.
Capitalism utilizes ideas like the nuclear family to uphold the cis-hetero patriarchy. When queer Marxists say capitalism, what they're talking about is normativity. Normativity are cultural norms that uphold capitalism. Listen again.
It's bigotries to divide the working class, such as homophobia, transphobia, racism, and misogyny, that are all fueled by the system. Capitalism utilizes ideas such as the nuclear family to uphold the cis-hetero patriarchy that dominates us today.
Capitalism utilizes ideas as the nuclear family to uphold the cis-hetero patriarchy, that means upholding capitalist normativity that dominates us today. Okay? The queer Marxist left wants to abolish the nuclear family because they believe the nuclear family reproduces capitalist values. If the nuclear, it's called social reproduction theory. It's the idea that social systems will reproduce themselves until they are disrupted. The capitalist system, they believe, reproduces, the nuclear family, they believe, reproduces capitalist values by parents in capitalism, raising kids to believe in capitalism, so the kids can go out into the workforce and be oppressed by the capitalist system. That's what they believe. They are trying to abolish the nuclear family because they want to disrupt the reproduction of capitalism.
That are all fueled by the system. Capitalism utilizes ideas such as the nuclear family to uphold the cis heteropatriarchy that dominates us today. Seeing that the Gay Liberation Front called or had a wide-ranging agenda calling for 24-hour childcare, free birth control, abolition of police and other state entities,
thanks,
full
Tango Bliss.
employment, and
Appreciate
much more. The Gay Liberation Front also began holding solidarity with anti-imperialist and anti-capitalist groups, such as the North Vietnamese National Liberation Front. However, with internal conflicts arising, the Gay Liberation Front had issues having solidarity with other revolutionary groups, such as the Black Panther Party, whose leadership was anti-gay at the time. Thus, the Gay Activists Alliance, founded by Marty Robinson and Arthur Evans, was born, focusing more on queer liberation issues.
Yeah, we've covered this topic about the family extensively.
Both
if you want to look into the archives.
Both the Gay Liberation Front and Gay Activists Alliance would utilize hit-and-run style protests. However, it was the Gay Activists Alliance that developed this protest tactic called the ZAP tactic. Protest tactics like these would be later used in Black Lives Matter movements, groups like ACT UP and Get Equal.
ACT UP!
ZAP tactics involve overwhelming political figures, corporate figures to embarrass them and to bring light to the discrimination against queer people.
Yeah, cis is normative.
Calls for universal.
So what cis means is you are basically adhering to the gender binary. Cis is about the, for queer Marxists, again, we're not talking about trans people like Caitlyn Jenner. That is a different thing. When queer Marxists say cis, they mean adhering to the gender binary. That is fundamentally different than Caitlyn Jenner saying, I'm trans, because Caitlyn Jenner is talking about transitioning from man to woman. It's a different thing. So when these people say cis, they mean something different than like what I'm going to call the normie trans who just want to go from one gender to the other. And again, people don't have to agree with that, but that is reality. These are different groups.
Healthcare ramped up at the start of the AIDS epidemic. Groups like ACT UP exercise increased militancy and
we cover ACT UP extensively
many times. During the AIDS epidemic, many state institutions...
I'm working on the book, okay? It's a sore spot. I'm working on the book. I'm working on a dictionary. I'm working on an online dictionary. I'm working on the evolution of queer Marxism. I'm working on it, okay? I'm working on it. I need to go on a writing retreat is what needs to happen. I need to lock myself in the middle of the woods for like a week, and I'll bang out like 2 books in that time.
Institutions and pharmaceutical companies fell silent. Many massive demonstrations on Wall Street where protesters likened the inaction and silence of politicians and CEOs as similar to the inaction and silence of the Holocaust. Other militant groups like the Lavender Hill Mob, which was founded by Marty Robinson, would bring ZAP tactics to ACT UP. ACT UP would zap locations such as
ACT UP was the precursor to queer militancy as we know it today. We have covered ACT UP extensively. I'm not going to do a big spiel about it now because we are running out of time before our surprise. But if you're interested in what the ACT UP movement is, it was a leftist movement driven by the AIDS epidemic that started in the 80s that really turned into the first mass queer militant movement where they were doing these disruptive protests and stuff like that. The ACT UP movement still exists today. They're still at leftist protests today, but their focus has changed, obviously, since the AIDS epidemic.
Patrick's Cathedral, pharmaceutical companies, and the New York Stock Exchange.
Fundamentally, it was about universal health care, is what the ACT UP movement was.
The power of these movements did not go unnoticed. Eventually, even neoliberal institutions created their own queer rights organizations. Many saw the inclusion as a
They weren't
right
saying,
step
they didn't say neoliberal as a positive thing. Neoliberal means people who are upholding the capitalist establishment.
in progress, but as we go through the 21st century, it is apparent that many gains made by capitalist-funded organizations are now slipping backwards.
Capitalist-funded
Countless
organizations
states have enacted transgender bathroom bans, forced misgendering on legal documents, and banning care for transgender youth. The current administration also shows no sign of stopping its transgender and queerphobic attacks on some of the most vulnerable in society.
Oh!
The intersectional oppressions of race, gender, and sexuality are inherently related to the system of capitalism.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Queer liberation can only happen if you overthrow capitalism? The oppression that queers face is directly related to capitalism? That's what we're talking about, guys.
Bigotries after bigotries are perpetuated in order to exploit and amass capital and divide the proletariat. If we're to guarantee queer liberation, this whole system must go. In order to do this, we must organize.
Oh, yeah?
We must.
In order to achieve queer liberation, the entire capitalist system must go.
Perpetuated in order to exploit and amass capital and divide the proletariat. If we're to guarantee queer liberation, this whole system must go. In order to do this, we must organize as
Cynthia! Cynthia, thank you for the 10 gifted channel membership. Cynthia the Queen. Emerald squares in the chat, please, for our Emerald Queen, Cynthia.
We must organize. So queer liberation means having guaranteed access to healthcare, self-determination, and bodily autonomy, freedom from discrimination, and being free from the capitalist cis-heteropatriarchy that continues to dominate our society.
Oh!
Socialism is a clear path towards that liberation.
Socialism is the clear path towards liberation. There you have it. There you have it. Guys, we are but 6 minutes away from an amazing surprise. You guys are going to want to stick around for the surprise. But, I need to pee, okay? I need to pee real quick. I didn't want to go during the presentation. Before we get into the surprise, I need to pee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a music video as a little intermission. If you need to pee, now is a great time. And if you guys want to get me to the channel membership goal while I'm in the bathroom and while we are playing a song, please feel free to do that. I'll get them on my way back. But we need to take just a brief break, and we're coming back with a big surprise, and you're not going to want to miss it, so stick around. Here's the song.
He's calling out cults and conspiracies wild, Gnostic sex cults and theories compiled. But one question's raised and it's blocked on the spot. No room for dissent in the world he's got. But the crowd starts to laugh and they're starting to see a whole lot of words that just don't agree. Oh, Emperor James, are you feeling the breeze? Might wanna look down, see what's caught at the knee. He's the Emperor with no clothes, strutting around like nobody knows, shouting loud, but he's bearing it all to everyone's eyes. He's the Emperor, yeah, with no disguise. Slipped down by his own price. The fat is an intellectual line. Oprah's got mind control, powers divine. He's calling Saint Michael the devil in charge, and telling the Catholics they got it too large. Oh James, don't you know it's a tricky game when you're calling out folks but you're doing the same. You say it's the truth only you understand, but the crowd's got a mirror showing just where you stand. He's the emperor with no clothes, strutting around like nobody knows, shouting loud, thinking he's wise, but he's bearing it all to everyone's eyes. He's the emperor, yeah, with no disguise, stripped down by his own pride. Start to fade and the truth comes around. His theories unravel like threads on the ground. The court starts to giggle, the people all cheer, for the emperor's naked, the truth's finally here. He's the emperor with no clothes, strutting around like nobody knows, shouting loud, thinking he's wise, but he's bearing it all to everyone's eyes. He's the emperor, yeah, with no disguise, stripped down by his own pride. So here's to the lesson, let's give it a toast to emperors walking in nothing but boast. Join Karlyn's cult and open your eyes. She's here to expose James's epic lies.
All right. We got a couple W's to hand out. We got Brown Barberley with 5 channel memberships. We've got Malcolm with 10 channel memberships. W's to you. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Hopefully we can get another 25. And I can meet the membership goal for the day, because guys, there is no one else on the internet who is going to bring you into a meeting, a live meeting right now, of the Democratic Socialists of America in New York City. We are going into their live celebration call. This is a live meeting. This is a spy stream. We are infiltrating a live call with the New York Democratic Socialists of America after last night's election, and you are going to see them work in real time, and we are the only people on the internet that are going to do this. Welcome to Spy Stream. Welcome to Spy Stream, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spy Stream. Hang on one second. Hang on. They gotta let me in. Yo, Axed! W's, bro. Guys, I won't be talking over the call, so we can get a good recording, but if you send in stuff, I will acknowledge it, I promise. Just not during the call, okay? Just not during the call. Hang on one sec. 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 Who's excited? One in the chat if you're excited. Two in the chat if you think this is dumb and lame.
A lonely hunter, hot long summer day, we're just sneaking by the river.
Welcome. My name's Gustavo. We're gonna get started at 8:05. So having people join, so we'll give them another minute.
Well, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. Gypsy bit the dust, and shitty headed with poison. Now everybody wants just a taste of what we started. Standing on the rooftop.
Everyone put on your sunglasses. We're spying.
We're just yelling till the morning. All surrounded by the vision of all who came before them. Living in the city.
We're waiting a couple of more minutes for. We'll get started at 8:05.
I bet the people who left are feeling pretty fucking stupid.
Oh, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard.
Actually, I'm gonna wear these. Sunglasses. Can't make up my mind.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there. And they stay there. And they stay there. Down, down, down. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air. You stay there. Ludacris going in on the verse, cause I never been defeated and I won't stop now. Keep your hands up, get them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it, my folks locked down. I never went nowhere, what they say in Luda's back. Blame it on that contour, the hood call it Luda-yak. And I'm on this foolish track, so I spit my foolish flow. My hands go up and down, like strippers' booties go. My verses still be serving, like a million birds. And last time on a college remix, now I'm on the original version. Can't never count me out, y'all better count me in. Got 20 Accountant count me in, make millions every year, but South champions. Cause all I do, all I do is win, 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 no matter what.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Gustavo. I'm one of the co-chairs of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America. I couldn't be happier to be on this call with you all. I feel like I've been in a prolonged state of political euphoria since last night, and I hope many of you are too. For me, I think as socialists, we should excise moral victories from our vocabulary. It's really important to have real W's to organize the working class, in my opinion. And I'm so proud of the movement that we've built. Since the mayoral campaign, since going back to 2016, we've really built a historic force here in New York for the working class. And if you're just joining us today, I think that the way I got into DSA in a really deep way was when I saw my efforts contribute, in a small way to AOC's victory in 2018. That was a moment of political awakening for me. And I think that these nights like yesterday operate as moments of political awakening for so many people. And every time we have a win, it's an opportunity to welcome new members into the organization. And ultimately, it's building the organization that allows us to elect new leaders, to pass transformative reforms, to organize the working class and give people the tools to govern for themselves. So it's really important that after a win, we take a moment to debrief, to think through what we did, what went wrong, what went well, and also to expand our ranks, because that's the only way that we're going to keep this movement going. So today, we're going to be making some asks. So if you're not a member of DSA, now's the best time there's ever been to join New York City DSA. If someone wants to drop a link in the chat, we're going to be hearing from other speakers tonight, and they're going to talk about what brought them into New York City DSA as well. We have some more news. We're not done winning this week. There have been a series of hearings for the past month by the Rent Guidelines Board in New York City to consider whether to freeze the rent or implement a rent hike. And tomorrow will be the final hearing. And we expect a rent freeze to go into effect, to be approved by the Rent Guidelines Board tomorrow. So we're also going to be dropping some links for you to join that hearing tomorrow. But I really want to urge you to join New York City DSA if you haven't yet. And if you are a member, we'll have plenty of ways for you to keep plugging in after we hear more from some of the leaders in the organization. I'm going to pass it on to my fellow co-chair, Grace, who's going to do an overview of our history.
Hi, thanks, Gustavo. Yeah, it's been an incredible couple of days here. Let's go to the next slide. We just want to note that everyone is welcome on this call. Some of y'all are members, some aren't. There's maybe even press here. So welcome, friends, welcome, comrades. Please welcome anyone you think might be interested to join the call. You can do that at dsa.nyc/victory call. And this next slide actually gives some QR codes for how you can do some of those things that Gustavo was just talking about, joining DSA, becoming a member, becoming part of this movement. And also, if you're in New York City or you're local, joining the rent freeze hearing tomorrow, where we're gonna win, knock on wood, one of Zoran's signature campaign promises and something DSA and many movement organizers have fought for a long time. But now let's talk a little bit about how we got to our victories last night. So DSA, and particularly New York City DSA, has been building for a very long time, and it hasn't always been a history of pure W's, but I think we always lose up when we do lose, which I think is a really important lesson for people across the country and across the world. But we really started getting more serious about electoral organizing in 2016, following the Bernie running for president, a surge of membership, also, of course, Trump's harrowing and traumatic victory that year. And organizers in New York City said, hey, what if the left won some races? What would that look like? How do we do it? In 2017, we put that into action. We ran and we lost in 2 city council races, but we learned a lot. We learned that we could do this and that we should do this, and that in many ways, leftists, socialists, people who are committed to being organizers in the sense that we teach our skills to other people, are better at doing it than the so-called political class. And that came to fruition in 2018 when we won both AOC and Congress. and Julia Salazar's seat for the state Senate. Julia Salazar's race in particular was top to bottom a DSA race. Staff was all DSA members, especially early on. Field leads were all DSA. It was truly a DSA operation, and it was our first socialist in office. We sent her to Albany by herself for 2 lonely years, but she was only alone for a bit. In 2019, we expanded ourselves. We ran for DA of Queens. It was a huge, huge race. We could stretched ourselves so much, but we lost, and we lost by 55 votes. That is still something we reference today because every door counts, every door knocked, every phone call made matter. You could literally lose a massive race if you don't get your nose to the grindstone and keep going. 2020 was a huge year for us. This was a year we said, okay, we won in 2018. What if we went bigger? We ran a slate of 4 legislative candidates. We swept them, in part because of anger around COVID, in part because of George Floyd uprisings. And this was really how we formed what is now our Socialist in Office Committee and the keystone of our co-governance inside-outside project. Inside-outside organizing is when you have people in the halls of power that work with movement organizers on the outside, and we feed into each other. We kept building on this, 2021, 22, 23. We won a lot of races these years, but we also lost, in some cases, more than we won. And that hurt, but we never lost any territory. We defended our incumbents. We grew every year. But even when we lost, because we're so committed to teaching our skills to other people, to bringing new organizers in behind us, I think we always lost upward. We always lost in a way that made us bigger, and we lost in a way that still put more people into office in a lot of cases, enabling us to pass big pieces of legislation like the Build Public Renewables Act. In 2024, we also passed good cause eviction, another big piece of legislation. All these losses and building and things turning in the background enabled us to win big in 2025 when Zoran won. And again, this year, we really stretched ourselves. We ran 10 candidates and 2 congressional candidates. It was kind of crazy, but apparently not that crazy because we won almost all of those races. But we did that because we have built a strong foundation every single year for the past decade. Every single time we make sure we have dozens more people in every campaign. And in Zoran's case, hundreds more people who have the skills to maybe spearhead their own effort, to be field leads, to be higher level field coordinators, people who are really creating strategy. And that is how we're able to scale to do something like what we achieved last night, where we pulled off a massive victory, not only in New York, but I think something that will reverberate across the country. Next slide. So how we're doing this, I touched on a lot already, but we do this by being committed to being a mass organization, a democratic organization that not only makes decisions together through votes, through serious deliberation, but that teaches each other our skills. Almost everything I've learned as an organizer, I know because other people in DSA have taken the time to teach me. And that's how we get political leaders and organizers who are not only talented, but know how to replicate themselves. We're also really trying to build a party-like institution that is working for the working class. I think you see this really strongly when people like Claire Valdez in particular are running and winning congressional races. Claire, who's about to come on, was a leader in DSA. She was on our steering committee. She was a field lead and a field coordinator for other races before she became a candidate herself. And then finally, we of course have a popular platform that speaks to people's material conditions and that challenges the status quo. No one likes incumbents. No one likes what's happening in American politics. And if you tap into that with something that really goes to what people feel like they need, their housing, their childcare, their grocery cost, you're going to be able to connect with people not only who think of themselves as progressive or socialist already, but people who don't, but are willing to try something new. So I'm hoping Claire is on doing it. She is. Beautiful. So I'm going to pass to one of our cadre candidates, a winner from last night, a great friend and mentor to many, Claire Valdez, who is coming to us hot from her victory tour. Claire, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I am.
Yay, thank you for being here, Claire. We are eager to hear from you.
Amazing. Okay, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm in a car coming up back from a CNN interview. Life is so funny. But it's really incredible to see, wow, 1,000 people on this call. Thank you all for taking some time out of your evening to speak with us and to hear about DSA. Grace just said a lot of this, but you know, I joined DSA in 2019. At the time, we only had one socialist in office, Julia Salazar, and of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And it was really seeing their races that inspired me to join. I saw not just two proud Latina socialists win their seats, but this whole groundswell of everyday people coming together to organize against the establishment and win. I was a door knocker for Bernie Sanders. I knocked doors for Tiffany Caban, field coordinator for Sammy Numero Olivars in 2022. And like Grace said, not every one of these races won, but in every single campaign, what we did was the incredibly hard work of developing new organizers. And I like to point to my own story as an example, someone who was terrified to knock a door at first, but was encouraged to come back by really generous and kind field leads, was terrified to take the step to become a field lead myself, but was encouraged by others to take the plunge. Was terrified when I was asked to run for office and to run for a state assembly, but had gone through this process of being asked again and again to do something that might be uncomfortable, might be scary, might be hard. But when you are organized by people who care deeply about the working class, who see political potential in you and who want you to see that in yourself, that is how we win. That is how we create a durable organization that is ready for moments when someone decides they want to run for mayor as a Democratic Socialist and is able to kind of mobilize 100,000 people to go out and knock doors. When we have this movement of people who who I think deeply and truly feel themselves as powerful political people, that is exactly how we transform our world. Because individual campaigns are not going to do that as much as they, get people to come out and volunteer and learn how to organize and meet their neighbors. All of that is incredible, but we need a durable socialist movement if we're going to abolish ICE, if we're going to end the genocide, if we're going to create a New York, a world in which working class people have dignity, protections, care, and not just survive, but can really thrive in our lives. So I love DSA. I've been a proud member of DSA and was on the steering committee, welcoming hundreds and hundreds of members during my time as a membership coordinator in the chapter. Got to help set up the membership committee. Very proud. Love the work that we do in New York City. DSA has made me the political person that I am. It is my political home. And so if you have not joined DSA, if you are here on this call and you have been thinking about it, wondering if you should take the plunge, come on in. The water is fine. It is a great place to learn how to organize, to learn how to strategize, to think deeply about our politics, and to meet your neighbors, to meet people who care about a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, changing the world that we inhabit. So I'd absolutely encourage you, join DSA. I think there are links being dropped in the chat. If you're already a member of DSA, wow, amazing. Thank you so much. If you're not paying local dues, consider chipping in and making sure that our chapter can run. We have office spaces around the city now that we're opening up. We're paying staff to really beef up our political and comms work. And what we're building here in New York City is really incredible. It is a beacon of hope, not just for other people around the country, but really around the world. the world, the international left is looking at what we're doing here in New York City. I'm grateful to have been part of it for years, and I'm so excited that in this moment people are deciding to step in as well. So solidarity forever. Thank you everyone who came out to volunteer. I can't believe we did it. It's amazing. Bye.
Thank you, Claire. I can't believe we did it either. It's been a really good day. So you heard Claire pitch you on joining DSA. If you are not a member, why not, man? Time to come in. We're on the up, and we need you to get even bigger. The other thing we're asking for tonight is to help build the chapter, the New York City chapter, with recurring donations. We'd love to build national. We'd love to build a national organization, and that is how you get voting rights as a member of DSA. But New York City DSA only gets a portion of the dues money that goes to national, and we're trying to do really big things in New York City. We need to get love the song. We need to get money for more office space. We're trying to expand to welcome in new members. We need more funding for more staff. We only have 2 staffers, guys. 2 staffers in the mayor and Gracie Mansion. That's kind of crazy. So we need more money to pay for staff. We're trying to get that ticker in the upper right-hand corner to $5,000 tonight. I really think we can do it. I hope you'll chip in. We'll check back on how this is going in a bit. But for now, we're going to dig into the breakdown of yesterday. What exactly happened? We know we won, but how did we win and where? So I'm going to hand things over to one of the chairs of our electoral working group, Osman, who will run us through that.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so my name is Osman. I'm one of the co-chairs of New York City DSA Electoral Working Group, and I just want to tell everyone here a little bit about how we did last night. We won 2 congressional seats last night for socialist representation in New York City. Claire Valdez in New York 7 won by more than 20 points over our Working Families Party-backed opponent. And Daria-Litsa Avila Chevalier won Uptown, Harlem, Bronx, Inwood, Washington Heights, etc. By 3.5 points over Espaillat. So last night, our members knocked our way to victory against the Working Families Party and the Congressional Progressive Caucus at the same time. So this means that NYC DSA members, like, we are the left. And so if you consider yourself a leftist in the United States of America, please hit that join button. Join DSA. Next slide, please. So we also won 7 state races, lost 1, Conrad Blackburn in Harlem, by a narrow margin, maybe 8 points. But every other race, Abir Kawasi, Ian Huntley, Christian Celeste Tate, Iapa Saru Tupac, David Orkin, Samantha Catan, and Diana Moreno, all won by at least 18 points. So don't even try it. We control these areas. We won by massive margins. We have a democratic socialist mandate in New York City. Next slide, please. So in addition to the mayor, more than 3 million New Yorkers are now represented by socialists at multiple levels of government. And in some cases, that is every level government. So this is Greenpoint, Williamsburg, Bushwick, the People's Republic of Ridgewood, Fort Greene, East New York, Cypress Hills, Sunnyside, the People's Republic of Astoria, Long Island City, Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, Morningside, Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, the Bronx, Woodside, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Lower Manhattan, Woodhaven, and probably more. Thanks so much. And now I'm going to pass it off to Jeremy for a geographic look at how we did.
Cool. Thanks, Osman. My name is Jeremy. I'm also on the Electoral Working Group. And as you've been hearing on this call, one of the defining features of our movement is that our power comes from mass participation in our campaigns. The other side is money, but we have people. I learned that firsthand as a field lead on the Zoran campaign, and it was absolutely true again this year. So this is a really cool map we've been looking at. It lets you see the effects of our canvassing. really clearly. So on the left, we're showing a map of where we won across all the races that Osman was just talking about. It's the fraction of votes that we won across the city. And on the right is where we knocked. So we're showing the total number of doors knocked, also all across the city. And the fact that these two maps are so similar is a sign that canvassing works. When we talk to our neighbors about our candidates and our movement, we win big. I want to share a couple other numbers about the scale of what we built this year. Next slide, please. So just to give some high-level numbers that are really exciting about what we're building, we had more than 10,000 canvassing shifts total. And together, we collectively knocked 720,000 doors. That's more than 3 times as many doors per capita that we knocked this year compared to last year. And that was accomplished by hundreds of field leads and thousands of canvassers. And that's not counting the thousands of phone calls we made, including the 2 epic phone banks that we did in the final 2 days of the campaign. Another really exciting number is that we had 4.2 thousand non-members, non-DSA members canvassing for the slate compared to 2.8 thousand members. So that's more non-members than members that we're canvassing, and we cannot wait to get all of these folks more involved in our project. So I'm now going to hand it to Genevieve to share some exciting data on where we can grow.
Hello, everybody. So many people in here probably used the DSA ballot and poll site lookup tool at dsa.nyc/vote. We were able to keep an anonymized log of the lookups for this, so we don't know like who looked up or even like what their apartment is, but we have like approximately what areas people were looking up things. And so we are able to see the concentrations of where people looked to have socialists on their ballot and, you know, entered their stuff in and said, are there socialists on my ballot? And we generated about 24,000 ballots over the course of early voting and election day from 14,000 unique devices, and about half of those came in on election day itself. I want to note the concentrations that you're seeing on the screen and mention that so our endorsed candidates, especially those who contributed to running ads to push this ballot lookup tool to help make it easier for people to find where and how to vote, they saw the most lookups in their areas, which makes sense. But if we start to look at the non-DSA represented districts where a lot of people were looking for socialists on their ballot, for state assembly, AD 53, Maritza Davila was very closely tied for almost second place for a number of ballot lookups. In a sea of like 5 socialists, she was quite up there. And in Congress, Hakeem Jeffries' district was the second most looked up, about twice as many times as Daria Liza's district, for people trying to find socialists on their ballot. And I think that this tool is great because it lets us know where people are trying to find socialism and where we might want to put socialism on their ballot in the future. And I really look forward to using all the district targeting stuff that we can to make plans about where to run socialists in future cycles.
Thank you, Genevieve. So now we're going to hear a bit from Tara about where we won in the city, and particularly the triumph of Black socialism this cycle. Tara, there you go.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Jator. I'm a part of AfroSoc, which is the sort of Socialists of Color caucus within New York City DSA. We are an affinity group for Socialists of Color to connect, learn about our own history, and also organize as socialists within New York City DSA. First, I want to shout out that group of folks. They're an amazing group, and if you're a socialist of color, really hope that you come through. Okay, so really, really important night. You know, New York City DSA swept, but something else really important that happened is that we also doubled our representation of Black socialists in office. So last night we had Ian Huntley, Christian Celeste Tate, and Darilisa Avila Chevalier join, become socialists in office. And they joined our state assembly member, Ferris Front Forest, our state senator, Jabari Brisport, and our city council member DSA. So this is like a really important moment politically for Black people within sort of the broader left movement. There's a lot of discourse around Black folks saying that, socialists can't, represent the Black community, that, socialists can't win in Black communities. And, these folks are showing that socialists, are the future, that the future of, the multiracial working class is in socialists. And one way that we're seeing that is, now in Bed-Stuy, we have we have socialists representing Bed-Stuy residents at, New York City Council, the State Senate, and the State Assembly. And one thing that we're doing as New York City DSA to think more critically about building with the multiracial working class is thinking about, building with those who are like most impacted by gentrification, and that is sort of leading in a lot of our organizing. So one thing I want to sort of highlight is that Ian Huntley and Jabari Brisport ran on the slate with Carmela Sherrington and Reverend Omar Hardy, who are leaders in the Stop Deed Theft Coalition, who beat Hakeem Jeffries backed incumbents for Bed-Stuy district leader. And so, we're really trying to think to ourselves about what are things that, both strengthen the broader working class, but are also going to deeply impact Black communities. So thinking about what is, what's specific to folks, but also what is broadly universal. Another thing I want to sort of highlight is Conrad Blackburn. He was, unfortunately, the only member of our slate to not win his race, but even his race showed a lot of growth this cycle. So one thing I want to highlight for folks is that Conrad Blackburn had, for a state assembly race, almost $900,000 spent against him for a state assembly race. And he only lost that race by a margin of 600 votes. So he was able to show that a socialist message in the heart of Harlem is, frightens the establishment, that they are afraid of, a message that speaks to the multiracial working class and will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to defeat it. And so, I want to show give a lot of love to that campaign for doing something deeply intrepid, but for going against a deeply entrenched machine. And I believe that there is a strong foundation, that they've built a strong foundation in this movement. Similarly, though, in Harlem, in Washington Heights, and Inwood, I want to also talk about our future Congresswoman, Darlisa Avila Chevalier, who has done, the incredible by, beating a 5-term incumbent in Adriana Espaillat. We saw a lot of really terrible anti-Black rhetoric thrown at Darlisa online and at the polls, but she was able to overcome this through a foundation of solid organizing. And one thing I also want to point out with Darlisa's race is that BUM has been, the fastest growing branch in our chapter this year. And speaking from an Afro-Soc context, when we put out events or parties or coffee with comrades for Afro-Soc in BUM during, Darlisa and Conrad's races, it was, we would see twice the number of RSVPs from socialists of color compared to, Brooklyn, or Brooklyn folks or other parts of New York. And so BUM, I realize, is the Bronx and Upper Manhattan branch. And another thing I want to highlight about Darlisa's race is the amount of organizers of color, that have come out of this race, that have come out of the broader Black socialist slate. And so one thing I want to really highlight is that these races, are not just building up folks, in the city council, in the state assembly, in the state senate, or in federal office. They're also building the next bench of leaders that are going to lead the left, not just, as leaders of color, as folks who are coming out of their communities to say what the working class actually deserves. So I'm really excited to welcome Darlisa Avila Chevalier, Democratic nominee for New York 13, to come up and speak and tell us a little bit about her own story.
Thank you so much, Tara. Dari had some trouble getting on. Darlisa, are you on? We couldn't find you. Okay, Seems like that problem has not been resolved. Hopefully she can come back because Tara did such a wonderful job setting all of that up. So we will come back to that section. But instead, for now, we are going to move on to talk about what exactly we are building. So we had all these wins. Why are we winning? What are we fighting for at the federal level, but also at the state level, where we are going from 9 to 15 socialists up in Albany, New York's capital. And to kick us off from that, we are so excited to hear from one of those winners last night, Abir Kawas, who won in State Senate District 12. She's a community organizer and has spent years of her life fighting for working class New Yorkers, including developing Not on Our Dime, which is legislation that, when we pass it, will end New York's subsidy of Israel's illegal settlement expansion and state violence against Palestinians. Abir had a resounding victory last night and is going to become the first Palestinian New York State legislator in history. We are so proud of her win. We are so honored to be fighting alongside her, and I'm ecstatic to bring her onto the call. So, Abir, whenever you're ready. Abir, are you able to?
Oh, yeah, okay. Hey everyone, salam, peace. It's such an honor to be on this call tonight to celebrate this momentous win together. And I'm truly honored to be part of this movement. So let's talk about what we are going to do. Last year, we won a momentous people's victory. We shook the political establishment. And there were so many people who, when now Mayor Rondani won, thought that this was a fluke, but also the really important lesson that we were taking as a left was that he had to succeed. He had to succeed in order for us to really prove that as a left we can win races, but we can also govern in such an extremely competent way. And by this year, with us winning these state races, what we are showing is that we are going to sustain that victory. And we're sustaining that victory by winning more and more races and appealing to more and more voters. And we're also going to sustain that victory in the left, in state governance, because the way that we are going to pass the policies that Karlyn Borysenko promised to millions of New Yorkers is by getting the funding through the state legislature. And if we want fast and free buses, if we want an expanded universal child care, if we want to really make sure that our public schools are funded, that our public housing is funded, we have to make sure that we're getting that funding through this.
Abir, you muted yourself, so we can't hear you anymore.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes, and actually you sound better, so great.
Okay, great. Okay, apologies. I'm in the beautiful Astoria Park celebrating this win with my family.
But like I said, to sustain the people's victory, we have to get the revenue through the state legislature. So here are the very important things that we're going to do to win. We are going to pass the tax to rich policies. This is a set of policy priorities that will create income tax, corporate tax revenue that will fund things like universal child care, that will fund things like fast and free choice, that will give us more funding to deal with, because we know in the state that so many legislators are compromising because they are dealt with a budget like one we got this year, where our governor presented the budget late, added discriminatory policies like buffers on bills in the budget, and was forcing legislators to have to negotiate the whole policies through the budget. So we're going to fight against it. We're also going to make sure that we're going to be great legislators in office. That is going to help us sustain the people's victory. And there's more for us to win. We need to win universal income. We need to win healthcare for all. The New York Health Act has been sitting in the state legislature for years, but it has not been passed. So I will say that when we have pitched ourselves to so many progressive endorsers, to union endorsers, they have asked, what differentiates you between another progressive? Because in our race, and specifically in my race, we proved that in the progressive realm, that we are the right choice, and we are the choice that voters want. But many people did not give us endorsements, many people did not support us because they were skeptical of our ability to actually gain things in office. Now, actually, in reality, if you look at the Socialism Project, so many of the bills that you will find on endorsement forms, some of the most progressive organizations, unions, they were almost 80% of them were actually sponsored or written or introduced by our socialists in office. So we are leaders. We are able to govern. And again, we are not going to allow ourselves to be left in this position where governor and leadership are going to be pushing us to shape their own policy priorities. Because what we prove when we win our races is that people will not continue to allow their elected officials to not stand up for justice, to not stand up to the right bills, and they will vote them out if they are not going to do so. And that is going to shake up the way that politics works in the state legislature. So we're going to sustain the people's victory by winning the policy. We are going to make sure that we're using this internal, external strategy that we have through our campaigns, and not just our electoral campaigns, but even our campaigns to tax the rich, our campaigns for the new tax. We are using organizers on the ground and working with them to create the conditions for more policymakers to stand on and get those things passed. There is not a lack of good policy in state. There is a lack of political will to pass that policies, and we as socialists in office are the best equipped to make sure that political will is changing for the working class. Lastly, I would say in our campaign, if you compare us to our opponent, we had similar policy priorities. But the thing that people really, really respected about our campaign was that they felt confident in the political consistency and morality of our race. We ran an anti-war campaign. We ran a campaign that was in one of the most diverse communities where we talked about diversity, not just in terms of representation, but we said if we're going to win amazing, affordable, the affordability agenda, affordability policies for our district and for New Yorkers, we're not going to do that at the expense of others. We said we're fighting for the world and the world's good. And we celebrated our diversity through international solidarity. We celebrated our diversity by not spearheading American exceptionalism, but making sure that the policies that will win, whether they're a climate policy, whether they're better salaries for people in our district, whether they're better working conditions, are not coming at the expense of others. And that was a message that resonated with so many voters. Lastly, I will say we made history with our race because inshallah, I will be the first Palestinian American elected official in New York State at large. And so many said that our campaign was just about Palestine. But we know that Palestine has always been a proxy. Palestine has been an issue that so many people have erased and not spoken about, and it has shown the moral clarity and consistency, but the lack of moral clarity and consistency of elected officials. And we showed that people want moral clarity and consistency. If they will trust legislators who are actually going to fight for them, they trust them to fight for them and to pass the policy for them because of their advocating for Palestinian human rights, they're advocating against war, they're advocating for international solidarity. These were all things that voters were looking for and resonated with voters. And this is a new chapter for us because we are building a politic, a true socialist politic in the electoral work that we do.
Thank you, Abir. We are so excited to get you into the state Senate, to be fighting for Palestinian liberation with you, and to be organizing a Socialists in Office project at the state level with you. But speaking of Socialists in Office, I believe we now have Daria Litza on the line. She, as well as Claire, are going to be joining AOC and Chris Rabb and hopefully some other people. And oh my God, I didn't know we had another guest. Hello. Great to see you. But Daria Litza, over to you. Please tell us about your race, about building uptown and building across the country.
Yeah, well, I am just so deeply grateful to every member of our coalition, but especially DSA and Justice Democrats, because I think y'all really, we built a dream team together, and I'm just so grateful for all the work that everyone put in, the amount of energy and love that was poured into building this movement and this campaign cannot be overstated. I'm really so deeply grateful. I came into this campaign with folks telling me that it was over before it even started, and that there was no way that we could take on a machine like Espaillat's, that there was no way that an organizer could build out a political electoral campaign. And together we built something out that people, even till the week before the election, were really underestimating. And we won, right? And I think that just speaks volumes to the power of organizing people. There were $7 million that were spent against me to attack me and my personhood, and not any of the policies that we were actually fighting for, because we know that those were actually really popular policies. There was a spill over here. But, these were critiques not of the policies, because we know that these policies are ones that are popular, that people want, that New Yorkers want, and that the people of New York 13 are hungry for. This is a politic that was actually part of the politic that is rooted in the history of that district, where you have so many socialist movements from people of color, so many of our giants in the Black radical tradition, in the Latino organizing tradition, were coming out of New York 13. And so it was just such a deep privilege to be able to organize around these principles in a community that has not been able to reap the benefits of that type of organizing in decades. And I'm just so excited to be able to build that out on a national level, to scale it, to address the issues that we're facing right now. And so deeply, deeply grateful to every single person who was part of this campaign. I think really the fact that we were able to bring together a coalition of organizations that were able to help build out an infrastructure, build out an organizing system, and make sure that we got all of the resources and people power needed to win here was so crucial. And so I came into this knowing that I wanted it to be part of building movement work, knowing that I wanted people to join their political homes. So if you are here and you're not a DSA member, join DSA, because I really want us to be able to build this people power that will help us deliver in the long run. Because this isn't just about the seat. It's not even about this one moment in history. It is about making sure that people are brought into our politics and find homes and political homes that they'll stay in. I'm so grateful. I want us to just take the time to join DSA, be a card carrying member. And we need more socialists, actually. We need more of them. We have actually another race coming up in Denver with Melat Kiros, who is facing an incumbent who is just as bad as Espaillat. So let's get that one out as well and get Melat in, because she's just an incredible human being, an incredible candidate. And I would be so honored to get to call her my colleague in Congress. So please make sure that you support her as well. Sign up to phone bank with her. Please support her. Also, donate to all of these races. We have a number of other races still coming up down the pipeline that we really, really need to support. And I think we need to do all the things that we did in my race, whether that is going out to canvas in person, phone banking, donating, because it's so deeply important. Again, I was up against $7 million and we still beat that. And we can do the same in all these other races. But next in the pipeline is Melat, so please support her. And thanks. Y'all.
Yeah, it's coming up on next Tuesday in Denver, Colorado. It's one of the youngest districts. I think it might literally be the youngest district in the country. Diane DeGette is a faux progressive that hasn't really moved the needle as much and hasn't really done right by her constituents. And they also have the same exact appetite that your district had as well. So many people outside kept saying over and over again, they're only in here every 4 years. They only see Adriana, and there's a real opportunity to make change here. So many people were activated by your campaign. They were so excited to be a part of it. And there were a lot of people who were asking, like, how can we support it, even if we're not in the district? And I think we did see a huge impact on the phone banking, especially at the final hour. And I think we can make that happen for Mailot as well. I'm just here as a lawyer. That's why I'm sitting here. Yeah.
Yeah, you look
Sorry.
very official. No. It's good. It's good. We didn't know you'd be on.
I didn't either.
But as y'all can see, so we dropped the chats from the links from a lot in the chat. Thanks in part to Hassan, actually, on Monday and Tuesday, we had 600 people on a phone bank, and we got over 1,300 positive IDs for Daria Litsa. Between the IDs we got on that phone bank and on the Tuesday phone bank, I'm just saying it was the margin of victory. So were the phone banks why we won? Maybe. You could do that from a lot. But you could also be powering what's happening in New York City. We got our tracker up. We know people love a tracker. I love a tracker. I'm tracker pilled. We want to get to 5,000 in recurring donations. That will allow us to get more than 2 staffers. We're doing all this with 2 staffers. We would love to do more with slightly more staffers. So please click in there. But Hassan, Dari, anything else y'all want to add before we move on?
You know, I'm grateful to every single one of you who knocked on doors, who did a phone bank. So grateful to you, Hassan.
I didn't do anything.
You brought so many people out to that
I
phone
didn't-
bank.
I
So
didn't
let's
do-
not
I didn't do
undersell it.
nothing.
And I'm so grateful to every single person, because you really showed that you can have a vision and you can have fight in you and actually deliver for people. And so to everyone who wants to continue to do that work, please join DSA. Please just keep organizing, because we can build a better world together.
I will tell you this much. There are a lot of races out there, and there are a lot of fantastic DSA candidates all around the country that are running. You're obviously one of them. And for me, whenever I felt anxiety, I would like hit up Michael Lang and I'd be like, give me something good. Like, tell me something good. And he was not telling me good things. I'll be honest with you. And he was wrong, luckily. Fraud. Anyway, but whenever I felt in any way, shape, or form anxious, I think like the phone bank stuff that we did the last night, it really helped me. And I think it can help you guys as well. Whenever you feel like a race is close, or if you feel nervous about the outcome, you can be that change that you want to see, and it will soothe your anxiety. You will actually feel a lot better. And then when we get over the hump, then you can take credit for it a little bit too.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here, guys. Soothe your anxiety by joining DSA. So I'm going to bring on Alicia Singham Goodwin, who is one of our leaders, a steering committee member, and also a stalwart organizer uptown, a future constituent of Daria Litsa, to talk a little bit about what the chapter itself is doing, what we've been doing with electeds, what we're going to be doing for the next year, 2 years, 50 years of socialism. Alicia, come on over.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Grace. Like Grace said, my name is Alicia. I'm a DSA member living in Harlem. I was so thrilled to be able to cast my ballot for Daria Litsa. 10 years ago, when I started organizing in my neighborhood, I could never have imagined that one day my congressperson and my mayor would be fellow DSA members, people that I've met, that I've canvassed with, who I trust and look up to, who are committed to the same project as I am. But we've got more work to do. So how are we actually going to win on all the things that Abir talked to us about? And I'll say honestly, it's up to all of you. Nothing is a given right now. These electoral victories are truly exhilarating, but they're just one piece of building the power that we need to transform people's lives. So concretely, we're fighting to win the affordability agenda that we campaigned so hard for during Zoran's mayoral race. We are going to freeze the rent tomorrow. We've got a campaign for fast and free buses. We have to make the leap from the exciting Mayor's 2K pilot program to really universal childcare. And like Abir said, if we're going to do that, we need to have enough money by taxing the rich And so next year in Albany, 2027 is going to be all about that. We'll have the same uphill battle that we've had every year we fought to tax the rich, but we're going in with double the number of our socialists in office and hopefully double the number of DSA members on the ground to really keep the pressure up. And who knows, if we grow and we build enough between now and then, the next year in 2028, we might be working on a campaign for a Democratic Socialist for president. You heard from everyone. We need you to join DSA. We need you to pay local dues, but I'm going to ask you to do something a little harder, which is to become an organizer. It's all about having conversations. If you, like me, were in the playground, in your elevator, chatting up everyone you know, saying, have you voted for Daria Lisa yet? I hope you'll go back to those same people and really talk about what we're building, ask them to join. And I will pass it back to Gustavo to close us out.
All right. I'm loving seeing the ticker go up. We've got 273 new DSA members since our victory last night. Since when we won the mayoral race, we got like 1,000 new members. So let's keep those numbers climbing. And I really want to highlight the donation goal. Monthly recurring donations in New York City DSA are how we fund our work. It's what makes everything possible. This cycle, around 2 weeks ago, probably some of you remember, we started to have a series of emergency all-member snap calls because we were getting alarming information from early voting records that young people were not turning out. We were also, the internal state of some of our campaigns were really not where we wanted them to be. And at the same time, we were facing a media environment that was kind of creating a sense of complacency. And we were able to quickly shift gears. We organized a series of large rallies. We had these huge phone banks with Hassan. We had the emergency meetings every week. We did community walks with Zoran, bar crawls. We went clubbing. We importantly got 90 Link NYC terminals to put up GeoTV ads for DSA throughout the city. All of that costs money to keep running, especially the Link NYC ads. And if we want to keep running candidates, if we want to be able to move quickly, if we want to get new office space so we can embed in multiracial working class communities in New York City, we're going to need to keep fundraising for the chapter. So I really encourage you all to take out your phones, scan these QR codes, and join our movement. Without all of you, without growing, none of this would have been possible. We knocked over 700,000 doors this year. We ran 10 campaigns, the biggest slate we've ever run. Let's keep it up. Let's hire more staff. Let's open new offices. And I'm really excited to see all of you there. And we're like $300 away or $200 away from our goal of 5,000. Can we actually get there?
1 minute from the call being over. So I think we can get there. I feel like we can get to $5,000 and 300 DSA members in a minute. I believe in us.
Also, this is these are monthly donations, right? So that's actually like $60,000 in 1 year, which is almost the salary for a staffer, or about half.
Okay. I don't want to end the call. Okay, 300 members. How's our donation ticker doing? Members are more important. We love members. That's the first step.
Oh, actually, the donation ticker is, we exceeded 5,000. It just hasn't been updating.
Listen,
Okay,
we're
cool.
like the establishment.
We did it.
Keep moving the goalposts. Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We are so excited. More to come. More socialism to build in New York City and across the country. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Solidarity, comrades.
Okay, we're leaving. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. Well, on Saturday, if you guys are new to the channel, you might not know that on Saturdays we do a stream called Socialism Saturday, where we watch the real far left normally, but last Saturday we watched a presentation from Hillsdale College, how Antifa is funded. And I need to clip this presentation up because it was the most completely unserious presentation I've ever seen. And one of the very real arguments that Hillsdale College made in that presentation was that the DSA is funded by Neville Roy Singham, the CCP, NGOs, USAID, and all sorts of other, and Soros. I'm sorry, and Soros. I can't forget Soros. Let me ask you guys this. Let me put the chat on the screen. Hang on. Let's change our screen so you guys can see yourself talk. We can take that away now. Let me ask you guys this. We just watched an hour-long organizing call with the Democratic Socialists of America, the New York City chapter. In the time that we were on that call, of which there was over 1,000 people watching, which, by the way, the GOP would never be able to hit those numbers. The GOP can't even get 1,000 people at CPAC, let alone 1,000 people on a regular basis on an organizing call. Like, that is people might think, well, it's a celebration call. It's a big call, Karlyn. So, of course, there's more people there. I've been a dues-paying member of the NYC DSA for like 2 years. I don't know exactly when I joined, but I joined a while ago. I'm not under my real name, so they can't do shit about it. I just keep paying them money. They just keep sending me like private webinar links. And in that time, the only way I've seen the NYC DSA raise money is through dues and through fundraising. And I have to just ask you guys, do you guys, one in the chat, if you agree with, after watching that call, after seeing directly that the DSA in New York City just got 310 new members, which, by the way, the dues are on a sliding scale. It could it could be $5 a month. It could be $15 a month. It could be more if you want to pay more. They just got 310 new dues paying members, and they raised on the call $6,686 a month. Times 12, that is $80,000 over the course of the year. That is how they are funded, guys. That is how the DSA in New York City specifically is funded. And I think I mentioned this earlier on the stream, but I'll say it again just for the recording, I suppose. When you are a member of the DSA, you're supposed to pay dues to the national DSA and also the local DSA. So in addition to paying the dues of the NYC DSA, so I can get into their organizing meetings, I also pay dues to the National Democratic Socialists of America. And that is a completely different type of fundraising. The National Democratic Socialists of America Again, there is same thing. They pay average dues of, we're going to play a game called Fun with Math. The average dues paying member of the National Democratic Socialists of America donates $15 a month times 100,000 dues paying members. That is $1.5 million a month at a minimum, just by dues paying members paying $15 a month on average. Some are paying more, some are paying less. Times 12 for 12 months in the year, that is $18 million a year. These organizations, the Democratic Socialists of America, both on the national level and the local level, especially in bigger cities like New York City, it's not true everywhere. There are many lesser populated areas of Democratic Socialists, but in the bigger areas, they do not need funding from the CCP, which goes against their political ideology to begin with. They do not need funding from NGOs. They do not need funding from USAID. They do not need funding from George Soros. George Soros does not fund socialists. He funds progressives and liberals. So let me ask you guys this. Based on watching this directly, seeing for yourself, that was a live meeting. I didn't make any of that up. I didn't create that. You saw the fundraising happening right in front of you. $6,686 in new dues every single month was raised on that call. Again, that is what? $80,000 over the course of the year. One in the chat if you agree with Hillsdale College that the DSA is funded by Soros and the CCP and all the other ones. Two in the chat if you think that maybe they're funded by dues-paying members and then they do additional fundraising on top of it. So even those numbers I gave you, that's just for dues-paying members. That doesn't count the additional fundraising on top of it, of which they are getting very, very good at. One in the chat if you think that Hillsdale College was telling the truth when they said, and literally this is in their presentation, they said the Democratic Socialists of America, I forget exactly, I think it was the CCP one. I think they said they were funded by Neville Roy Singham and the CCP or something like that. I'd have to go back to find the specific wording. But what Hillsdale College sure as shit did not say is the DSA is funded by dues-paying members and fundraising that comes in small donations via those same members that are already paying dues to the national organization and the local organization and doing additional fundraising on top of it. And this is why every single time conservatives say, like Dan Bongino, every single time they perpetuate the myth, these people don't have jobs. Of course they have fucking jobs. Every single time I do something like this, I get asked by conservatives, well, where did they get the money for those dues? They have jobs. If you really think that a group of people doesn't have a job, it probably doesn't occur to you that some of their largest organizations, some of their most effective organizations are funded by small donations from those jobs from a really massive group of people that by throwing in $5 a month, $15 a month, whatever, they can literally fund the revolution. This is why these lies are so dangerous. This is why the brainwashing that has gone on from conservative media has made their audience functionally retarded and is not able to understand what the left is doing because it doesn't even occur to them that socialists would have money from jobs. We learned some other interesting things in that meeting. The number one thing, this is exactly what I said to Owen Schroyer. This is also, by the way, I posted a video short of this earlier today. I would really appreciate if you guys could help me share this on Twitter. Can you guys retweet this and reply to this and all this thing? This is a video I made earlier today, basically explaining in 3 minutes why the DSA won and the data behind the last time. And basically what I said in this video, and it's also what I said on Owen Schroyer's show, was that they won because of the fundamentals. They literally won because of the fundamentals. And I know you can talk about messaging, and I don't disagree with Owen's point on the messaging. I think the messaging also is highly effective to the audience. But if you have a highly effective message, but you aren't out doing the work, knocking on doors, making phone calls, you saw them say it. It was the phone bank over the last 2 days that won that one race from what is her name? What is her name? Daria Lisa and Hassan Piker himself, who it was so funny that he just showed up out of nowhere on that call. Breaking news. Probably because he's trying to take credit for it, even though it's not something he did. And I maintain this position. Hassan, that is like the second time I have been watching the far left in the DSA for 5 fucking years. That is like the second time that I've seen Hassan Piker. Out of all the DSA meetings that we've ever watched, and again, we're watching them in New York City. We have been for years. I have seen Hassan Piker twice in all of that time. So, and it just happened to be today when Owen was like, isn't this because of Hassan Piker? No. Hassan Piker is trying to take credit for it. He's trying to make it look like he was in proximity. But we have never seen Hassan Piker on an NYC DSA call before. It has literally never happened. Like Reagan, who watches all this content with me, didn't even know what Hassan Piker looked like. If Hassan Piker, I promise you, if Hassan Piker had shown up in other places, Reagan would have known what he looked like. So it's kind of a funny thing, but I don't want people to read too much into that. No, this was not Hassan Piker's doing at all in any way, but he's a content grifter on the internet. What do you want him to do? He's going to cozy up to these people, right? Because he wants the credit for it, when in fact he didn't really do anything. Well, no, they really didn't, though. They actually didn't. No. See, this is what we call making shit up. They didn't say that Hassan Piker was responsible for this. They said, oh, Hassan Piker, how nice you're here. They didn't give him credit for it. That didn't happen. This is why we can't make shit up, guys. We can't invent things that didn't happen. We can't invent things that weren't said. If they were giving Hassan Piker credit, I promise you, I'm sorry, did you not notice they had an entire slide deck explaining why they won? Do you want to know why I know this was not Hassan Piker's doing? The DSA just walked us through a slide deck. No, they didn't. Okay, hang on. Pay close attention to the instructional video. Pay close attention.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
It doesn't fucking matter what Hassan Piker says. What matters is the DSA in New York City is not giving him credit in any way. And the reason, okay, so you just got put in a timeout. You don't talk back to me on my channel. Sorry. When I tell you, by the way, for all new people, I'm being extremely nice to you today. When I tell you to shut the fuck up and listen, what I need you to do is shut the fuck up and listen to what's being said, because you're yapping instead of listening, and you're spewing bullshit in the chat because you aren't listening. And literally, if you just shut the fuck up, you will be able to understand this, but you have to listen. I can't force you to listen unless I time you out when you're being a retard yapping in my chat, when your mouth should be shut, your top lip should be attached to your bottom lip, and you should be listening. The DSA in New York City just gave us an entire presentation about how they won. What Hassan actually said is the DSA tactics were helpful to him. The DSA phone banks were helpful to him. No one said that Hassan Piker was helpful to them. What they said in their full slide deck outlining, here is why we won, was that they knocked on 720,000 doors. Do you know how insane that is? They knocked on over they have so many people volunteering for these campaigns. They knocked on over 700,000 doors for local races. These are local congressional seats for the most part. That's insane. They were doing phone banks all the time. I can't tell you how many text messages I have from these people talking about phone banks, how many emails I have from these people talking about phone banks. It wasn't just that they were phone banking in the last 2 days. Well, it's the same election machine. So Zoran Mandami had over 50,000 individual volunteers. I don't know how many individual volunteers they have because they didn't tell us. Probably less than the mayor's race, if we're being honest about it. But still, you need a significant number of people to knock on over 700,000 doors. They were doing phone banks all the way leading up to it, which meant they had volunteers making phone calls all over New York City. That is how they won. And it was exactly like how Zoran Mandami won. They knocked on doors. With Zoran, they registered new voters and they did voter turnout drives and they made phone calls. And they did a lot of fundraising. The DSA has been fundraising to run local candidates for office on a national level, not just on a local level, on a national level for like at least half of last year. And they were actually having a lot of success with it. The DSA was doing, like, again, at the national level, was doing phone banks of DSA members calling other DSA members, asking them to give a donation, asking them to up their donation or whatever. This is a social activity for them. They get together. This happened on so many DSA organizing calls. They got together, they had a meeting, and then immediately after the meeting, they went into the phone bank. How many DSA calls did we see where there was an organizing meeting, literally just like the one that we just watched, where they had their meeting, and then they said, hey guys, now we're going to go do a phone bank. Can you join us for the next hour and make calls? And they have a virtual system that they send out to people on the call so you can do this from anywhere. They give you a script. I've posted about this stuff on the internet. When we see this stuff, we actually we sabotage them. Whenever we see the DSA giving out like a phone number to do phone banking, we literally post it on the internet and say, hey guys, do you want to go call DSA people for fun? So pay attention to my Twitter because that's happened at least twice. So they were going right from the organizing meeting into the phone banking. So that is how they're doing it, guys. It is really the fundamentals. And of course, they do also have a messaging that appeals to their audience. And I don't think the anti-Israel, anti-Zionist messaging is insignificant. I think a lot of people are pissed off at Israel. I think a lot of people are pissed off at AIPAC. I think a lot of people are pissed off at Trump over the war. There's a lot of messaging that they can use to get these people elected. And that's reality. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a rigged election. The DSA in New York City outworks both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party combined. That is why they're winning. And what the DSA nationally is doing is trying to export what is working in New York City all over the country. And that's why you saw so many other socialists win last night. Because they have focused entirely on an electoral machine. And you heard them say this on this call. This is not an electoral machine that was built overnight. They have been building this electoral machine since AOC in 2016. And they've learned and they've improved and they've learned and they've improved and they've had so many rounds of running candidates now that they have a very well-trained volunteer community of highly intelligent and strategic political operatives. And I'm going to thank you guys for those channel memberships and super chats that you sent in. Just let me cook for a second. I appreciate all of you guys, though. You guys rock. You heard them talk about it on the call. Part of their goal is for experienced political and campaign people to teach all the new people coming into the DSA. And over the course of doing this for 10 years, They've created a massive pool of highly intelligent, strategic actors. These people are not mentally ill. These people are not paid protesters. And again, it's like these people have jobs. That's how they're giving money. Not only are they giving money, they're also volunteering on top of that. This is why the lies that conservative influencers tell are so dangerous. If you think that people are mentally ill, do you expect them to engage in highly strategic organizing over the course of a decade to build a completely independently funded election machine to win local office? Do insane people do that? So then why are we calling them insane? It is, if you watched that meeting that we just watched and you came away thinking they're mentally ill, I just don't think you're high IQ enough to be in my community. We have standards here. We have standards here. Well, no, we're really not. We're really not. The Civil War is not going to be red versus blue. It's not going to be Democrat versus Republican. Republicans are too fuck off lazy to ever leave their house for any reason, and you think they're going to go to civil war? That's not going to happen. The Civil War is radical revolutionary socialists versus the government. That is the Civil War. That is the Civil War that's going to happen, and when it starts, it's going to be over quick. Because right now what the left is doing is they're getting all their chess pieces into place. I said on Owen's show, and I mean this, I've outlined this many times. I believe firmly we are 10 to 15 years away from the left trying to violently overthrow the government. Everything they have done over the past 50 years leads in that direction. Every piece of evidence of what I've seen them say over the thousands of hours that I've been watching them, every single thing leads in that direction. And when they do it, because this is such a long-term plan, and they have so effectively infiltrated, and they have so outplayed the right at every single level, the Civil War is radical revolutionary socialists versus the government, and the left is going to win, and I don't even think it's going to be that difficult for them to do so. Because, yeah, they've infiltrated the military. Duh. So that is reality, guys. That is reality. These are not mentally ill people. These are not paid protesters. These are not lazy people with no jobs. These are highly strategic political operatives that are doing this because their value system is fundamentally different than yours. And they believe the only way for everyone to be free and for all the problems of the world to be solved is to overthrow capitalism. And when they say capitalism, they mean the United States government and the Constitution. And Owen asked me earlier on the show, he said, well, do you like the government? Would it be a bad thing if the government was overthrown? In my heart of hearts, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. So do I like the government? Fuck no. Fuck no. However, my vision for a world without the current government is not remotely the same as anarcho-communist vision for the world without a government. They mean something very specifically when they say the government is the capitalist government. They want to upend every part of our system, and I don't think their ideas are very good, and I think it will lead to mass starvation and suffering and death. So even though I am not necessarily the biggest fan of the government, and Lord knows I think the Constitution, while having positive intent, might not be the most effective thing if we're trying to solve this problem of people trying to overthrow the government in our midst. I think a much worse solution is communism. So if I have to choose between current U.S. government and communism, I choose current U.S. government. Okay? It's not perfect. There are many flaws. There are many things I would change. If I could wave a magic wand and get rid of it and institute an anarcho-capitalist utopia like Ancapistan, and that was actually something that could happen, which it never will, by the way. That's never going to happen. But if I could do that, I would. However, that is not reality. Reality is right now, our choice is going to come down to current system, although massively flawed and in desperate need of improvement, or revolutionary communism. I'm not going to live in a world of fucking rainbows and unicorns where I say, yeah, but I could get in Kapistan. It's not going to happen. It is not realistically going to happen. Have you ever tried to organize with libertarians? I have. I did it for 2 years, and I have now divorced myself from that entirely because it is a massive fuck off waste of time. Unlike the libertarians and unlike the right, the left is highly organized. They're highly strategic. The DSA is not remotely the worst group that we look at. The DSA is probably one of the least dangerous groups that we look at on the whole. Because at least the DSA still believes in elections. The DSA is not going to violently try to overthrow the government. The DSA are what we call reformist socialists, where they're going to get elected to office and try to make incremental reforms over time. Still not good. I'm not saying the DSA is good. However, if you stick around the channel, you're going to learn there are many, 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 many leftists that are significantly farther left than the DSA. The DSA are largely nonviolent. That's not to say members won't say things here and there. There's a lot of members in the DSA, but they are largely nonviolent. Antifa considers the DSA to be traitors. Real revolutionary socialists, and I have them on video saying this explicitly, real revolutionary socialists consider the DSA to be traitors. They actually, I have a guy from the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists on video saying that DSA are their biggest enemy because the DSA are directly inhibiting violent revolutionary tendency. The real far left does not disavow violence. DSA does mostly disavow violence. Party for Socialism and Liberation mostly disavows violence. There are many people on the left who actively denounce nonviolence and are openly saying, you know, we tried this protesting stuff, we tried this election stuff, it didn't fucking work, fuck that, they don't believe in it, blah, 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 it doesn't change anything, we need violent overthrow. They say this explicitly, guys. So, it gets much worse than this, but this is what's in the news cycle for the moment. So let me ask you guys this. One in the chat, if you are glad that you stuck around for a live infiltration of a Democratic Socialist of New York organizing call. 2 in the chat if watching that was a big waste of time. 1 in the chat if you're glad you stuck around and you watched the full organizing call and you saw directly for yourself what they're saying, how they're doing it, all that stuff. 2 in the chat if that was a big waste of your time. Guys, tonight we did a rare public spy stream. Most of the time when we do things like this, and we do spy stream quite often, it is usually a supporter exclusive. It is usually reserved for channel members, Substack supporters, Twitter subscribers, local supporters, Patreon supporters, whatever platform you support on, you get access to it. But usually what we did tonight is a supporter exclusive. That is why, to fund my work, I ask people give out channel memberships so we can make channel membership available to as many people as possible to come and see the spy streams, because usually it just creates many less problems if I just do it behind a paywall. But every once in a while, I like to do a little public treat, and it was a good day to do it because we had new people on the channel. So you guys can get a taste of what spy stream is like. We do those all the time. Sometimes spy streams last for days at a time, literally. So if you like this sort of stuff, come back, join us. Love for you guys to be here. Let me see. I got a couple last super chats and memberships and things. Old Sub came in with another 20 while we were on the call. Thank you for that, Old Sub. Really appreciate it, getting us over our channel membership goal for the day. John, thank you for the super chat. Karlyn really motivates me with her content. You look great with those glasses and necklace. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. Very nice of you to say. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it, bro. We got Maria Callas fan in New York City. Democratic primary winners win the general. Ours should rally around Democratic centrists. We have closed primaries, yet dummies think it matters more to own the libs and register Republicans than gain influence. I don't know. I'd like to see the Republicans actually put up a real fight, but they won't. They've taken their toys and gone home. It's over. It's over. We got another one from Maria Callas fan. GOP won't even register D to vote for the centrists. That's a good point. They could register as a Democrat for the primary and then turn back to block DSA from general election participation. Good point. Good point. I'm on your side there. They could. W's to you, Malcolm. Thank you so much. W's to you, Little Miss. Guys, thanks to everyone who gave 102 new channel memberships today. Thank you for helping me hit the membership goal. Now, as a reminder, tomorrow, I'm getting on a jet plane and I'm going to a super secret location where I will be doing super secret things. What that means is I will be streaming while I'm gone. So I'm not going completely dark. I will be doing streams. However, I don't know what time I'm doing them. I will be away Thursday through Monday. Okay. I should be doing streams. But if you don't hear from me, don't worry. I'll probably be on Twitter, something like that. But it is my intention to stream as much as I can while also doing other things that I want to do. Okay? So I have to travel tomorrow. I may do a stream tomorrow night. Just be flexible. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for allowing me the support with the channel memberships and the super chats to do what I do. You guys are the very best audience on the internet. I really believe that. And bon voyage. I'll see you guys when I see you. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer. I'm not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that? that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.